Quiet on set!
And action.
Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Graf and I'm joined by Kevin Taelemans. And today we are reviewing Sam Raimi's Send Help. Rachel McAdams stranded on an island with her selfish Nepo boss played by Dylan O'Brien.
Merrily watch along as we talk about Merrily We Roll Along. This week we also are covering Renovation, Wrecking Crew, and our spotlight world cinema this week is The Wailing. But don't worry, we're not gonna wail too much.
Exactly. And I got some of Sundance best films to talk to you about, including Josephine, Hot Water, Union County, Z, The Incomer, and more, as well as other films I've recently seen, like a bunch of Sidney Lumet films, a classic Hitchcock film, and the Oscar-nominated animated movie called Arco.
If you want to skip around to any specific topic in the video, you can find the time codes below. And please don't forget to subscribe, to comment, join our Discord, and just have a good time with us.
Just have a good time, you know. Anyways, kicking off this week's episode, we're gonna talk about a couple of news items that I brought this week. Just briefly, because I mentioned it last week, I saw that Shrinking is getting renewed for a 4th season. It's the show that has Harrison Ford on as like a therapist. It's also got Jason Segel in it, and it's like him after the loss of his wife, with his teenage daughter, and then an eclectic cast of fun people that also are all struggling with something, and they all help each other out and in a variety of ways. I think the show has always been like a very like bright spot to like return to. I've enjoyed it. I've also always caught up with it as it comes out, and I got to see the whole 3rd season. And what I said last week when I was talking about like the shows that I've seen, I said that like this season feels like it's a concluding ending point for the show. And I was quite surprised because I said like, oh yeah, it's probably going to end with this season. And then like eating my words like a day or two after as they announce a new season. And I don't know how they're going to make that work, because it feels like, it is sort of an ending point. But I can definitely recommend the first 3 seasons of the show. Maybe it's a bit of an Apple problem that they continue shows Ted Lasso that should be ending, and then they continue on until you actually don't like the thing anymore. Which you were saying like, actually I'm joking that I got access to some of these shows already. Like I've seen Monarch, like season 2. I've seen some other Apple shows. So like, have you already seen Ted Lasso, the new season? And I was like, no, they haven't even filmed it yet. And then I realized also this week that yes, they were already shooting that as well, and there's some pictures that came out. First couple of pictures for the new season, but is what it is.
I will say, I'm actually quite intrigued to watch Shrinking, because I saw they added Michael J. Fox to their cast for season 3, and I'm actually like, I really like this documentary a lot, so that's why I'm like sort of curious to perhaps now tune in to Shrinking, even though I don't watch TV. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
maybe
it's like because one of the characters is also struggling with Parkinson's, so they bring him in kind of very naturally. So yeah, that works out well. He doesn't have a huge presence in the show, but I like the scenes. Then there's also a bit of a controversy in the last couple of days. In our most anticipated of the year, we had Deep Cuts very high up, at least for me. It was in my top 25. I can't remember if it was for you as well. No, it wasn't. It's also one of the ones that I assumed were already further in production, and I was like, oh yeah, it's coming out 2026. They haven't even begin like, so it probably won't come out this year.
No, probably not.
So that's just like the many flaws that probably our most anticipated will have with like a lot of outdated things where we were like, oh, upcoming movie. Yes, I want to see now. And we'll see if it actually. But there was a controversy around Odessa A'zion, who has been cast as a character that is Jewish and Latino in the book. And she was cast on it, didn't know the specifics, I guess, so didn't read up on it, and then has now dropped out. And then shortly after, an open letter was addressed by a bunch of like Latino creatives, from directors to actors, actresses, that basically urged them to do more of their due diligence for representation and addressing it to the casting directors and producers and a bunch of people. And yeah, I don't know if we have much to say about like this controversy like around the topic of representation, but I think an ongoing issue with that has been that like all of these roles for people from South America have often been, you know, your cartel member number 7 or like some crime boss or some drug dealer. They've never been like, and especially with, you know, the current landscape, the political landscape in the US, it's all the more important to not reinforce toxic stereotypes again and again. So I can definitely like get the frustration here, but it's a project that, you know, has had its difficulties. Like currently also Katie Spade and Drew Starkey like, you know, signed on for the project, but it used to be Saoirse Ronan and Austin Butler, but that didn't work out due to scheduling reasons. Honestly, like this book has been at my top of like my like pre-order list for books, and I haven't yet got it, but I'm planning to read it because it sounds quite intriguing. It's like two music loving 20-somethings face love, ambition, and growing up during the 2000s, a decade that changed everything. And I'm looking forward to that. It sounds quite good. I think that the book has also been like favorably talked about. So yeah, I'm still quite curious and who they'll replace Odessa A'zion with, but she's been on a high with I Love LA and not an Oscar nomination, right? She didn't get one, but she's been praised for Mighty Supreme a bunch. But yeah, those are the two things that I wanted to mention at the top of the show. But Kevin, anything else?
I don't have any news.
Well, that's fine by me, I guess. Do you want to move on straight to our main review then, if you don't have anything else to talk about? You got no physical media to show off? Like,
I would have had the Wailing 4K here, but I gave that to Luca.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I got a book here, Wuthering Heights, a movie that you won't be watching, but I'll be reading this as well. This is not the copy, you know.
But wait. Actually,
it's like the movie version, the tie-in. There we go. Look at this. They're kissing.
I sent you the tweet. I am gonna scroll very quickly. Just give me like a few. Just give me a few.
The elevator
I'm totally
music.
not scrolling through our own chat. Wow, we message way too much to each other. Anyway,
every time I try to look for something, I feel the same way. Can we shut the fuck up?
But like, there's like a tweet, right? Margot Robbie reveals she hosted a private screening of Wuthering Heights for a friend group. It was the most unhinged experience of my life. It was the funnest Wednesday I've ever had in my life. 20 women were like frothing at the mouth. They were like rabid dogs. There was constant commentary and screaming throughout, and sobbing in parts as well. I was like, if Jacob Elordi, walked in right now, I think they would eat him. Do you think I'm excited to watch a movie like that?
Why not?
They're just.
I am.
I'm not. Bro.
I also.
If I go watch that movie day one, I'm gonna sit in a theater full of women that are gonna be like, just as I watched 50 Shades 3. I watched 50 Shades 3. I know. I didn't watch any of the other ones, but I just needed to watch a bad movie, and that was this movie playing, and I went in there. It was full of women, and maybe a couple of guys were forced to come along with. I sat in the front row, and I had giggling behind me. Like, it was one of the worst, and I think Wuthering Heights is gonna be the same.
Yeah, probably.
It's probably, and it's gonna have a sexual, a violent sexual turn in the third act.
Yeah. Well, I haven't finished the book yet. This is also the one that we'll be selling at our theater, and I saw the trailer again, a longer one that we are now showing in front of some other films, and I'm intrigued. I'm more intrigued by this, which I finally got as well now. You know, I'm also reading this, the translated version by Emily Wilson. I also got the Iliad behind me, so that's a junker, which to me it's also crazy because like the book here on the side looks sort of like, it looks so torn up. It feels like, I don't know why they did such a bad job of like cutting them. It's also with the other book. I don't know what the fuck is up with that, but and then the movie that like already came out, I think, in France, but it's coming out like in February here in Switzerland, and we also will be selling like the French version. I also got the. Actually, after
wait, you actually got it in French?
This is for the cinema to sell. Well, if you give me 2 seconds, I also have it in English, the translation.
Okay.
I don't need to also show that. I feel like I've already done my showing here, but the one I'm reading is in English, which I still haven't gotten around to.
You've already flexed with your purchases this week. I get it.
No, this is me.
The roles are reversed.
This is me pretending that I can read. Now that Lachlan isn't on the podcast anymore, and he's the one who can't read, I have to be the one.
Well, he will be soon again.
For the aforementioned Wuthering Heights, he will be here for that. So, because we will be reviewing that in detail, and every inch of the body we'll take a closer look at, but I guess not with Kevin, because he's like,
main review, send help guys, send help, please.
All right, let's talk about Send Help, the latest film from Sam Raimi that is finally back with a horror film. His last one was Drag Me to Hell, and remind me if I'm incorrect, but that was like 17 years ago. So it's been a while since the world has seen a horror film made by Sam Raimi. He's been in the superhero genre and has infused some of his like horror tendencies for some of those, namely I guess for one of the Doctor Strange movies and the Multiverse of Madness, right? But the Evil Dead director is back with a film that was, on a bunch of people's most anticipated list because the premise itself sounds quite intriguing. Two colleagues become stranded on a deserted island, the only survivors of a plane crash. On the island, they must overcome past grievances and work together to survive, but ultimately, it's a battle of wills and wits to make it out alive. And in the lead roles, we got Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. Rachel being the belittled Miss Little, who is working at a sort of company what do they do again? I don't know if I can't remember what they do, but she loves to eat tuna and is also an avid watcher of Survivor, Naked But Afraid, or so, like, I don't know, a bunch of stuff that, like, survival shows, and seems to be quite the survivalist herself, like being interested in that sort of hobby. And Dylan O'Brien has now taken over the company that his dad has sort of managed for a long time, not really having the experience and the know-how with the people that sort of make the company thrive, but more with sort of the life of a rich guy who has nothing but privilege in it. And then it's upended when they see I guess themselves stranded on an island trying to survive, and there's some wild hogs around that you need to kill, some pretty dangerous animals, but at the end of the day, the most dangerous animal of them all is man. Kevin, what did you?
Why did you slip into a French accent there at the end?
I didn't. I don't know what the fuck you heard.
You did.
I did not. Maybe it's my slight, like, weird Bruce Campbell sort of like undisclosed accent work, who is of course back in this film as well. It's not like Sam Raimi can make a movie where he doesn't pop up. He plays the recently deceased dad of Dylan O'Brien, who was in a better standing with Rachel McAdams, promising her promotion. The unrealized potential of her moving up in the company as well, and him sort of cutting that short. There's a whole lot to talk about. It will be a spoiler-filled review, but I think once we get into specific spoilers, we'll talk. Like, the thing is, the whole setup of this movie will take a bit, and they'll end on an island. So, like, all of that is already kind of spoiled by the premise itself. So you sort of just, like, the nature of this sort of movie. So we'll spoil up until, like, we are on the island and those dynamics, like, in the beginning, and then we'll tell you again once we talk about stuff further. But what do you think of, like, the movie in general and the opening?
I'm a bit offended by your intro because you didn't mention the fact that she has a bird. If she would have a cat, you would be like, oh, and she owns a cat at home. But no.
Yeah, lonely cat woman. She's a bird. She's a bird.
She's a bird woman. A very good bird woman that chirps back and talks to her. Mm-hmm. Give some respect on the damn bird. Okay?
I'm sorry for all the bird lovers out there. Keep loving.
But I actually thought the intro of this movie, and in the script, the first 10 minutes, like the first 10 pages are always vital, and I feel like the dynamics between Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien were written out pretty well. Yeah. Like, sort of instantly already hate Dylan O'Brien's character, which is the purpose of the movie. And Rachel McAdams is, he's a douchebag.
Yeah.
He's a little snarks. He's very hyper fixated on cleanliness, for example, hence the tuna reference you said. And, Rachel McAdams, she's a workhorse. Like, she really does all the work. Hey, here are all the numbers, and I already did this last week, and now I'm going to do that. When it's, like, due the day before, like the day itself, the dynamics are written out pretty well. And then we basically get to the island. There is not much to say or, like, to talk about with the first, first act.
Well, I did struggle with the beginning, quite a bit.
Yeah?
I think the beginning is by far the weakest part of this movie, because the comedy for me didn't really land that much. Yeah, I agree. Like, the sort of setup for Dylan O'Brien's character and also the dynamic between him and her is set up decently. I just think she is such a pathetic loser in the beginning. The way that she behaves, it's a bit too off-putting, and to me, like, there's a few things where, like, you're supposed to be maybe, oh, he's the dick, and I was like, in certain things, it's like, no, you're also not. You're going about this in such a horrible way, and I think the emphasis was too much of she's not thriving in this world, where I don't see her, like, fit into this world, like, at all ever, because, like, certain things of, like, the way she behaves was like, it was too much leaning into the comedy side of it, where I wanted to have a bit more heart for her, and, like, be a bit more invested in her success, and I really wasn't. Like, for maybe it's just because fucking tuna is so disgusting to me. It's so disgusting.
I like tuna. It's not too bad.
Like, that's because I don't eat seafood. I also, like, fish is yucky, smelly, ugh. So to me, when she had that thing of, like, he's supposed to be the over cleanly guy who's, like, pointing out shit that he finds off-putting and disgusting, I was like, yeah, no, I also find that off-putting and disgusting, but I also don't see myself as the nepo baby prick. So it was, like, at a crossroads there where it was a bit harder to relate to her and those first couple of moments. But
I have to ask, do you still feel that way with a certain reveals of her character near the end of the movie? Not to spoil it, but
yeah. Well, do you mean, like, the personal reveals, or, like, the very end
the
of
personal reveal?
No, I think the personal reveals add a lot to it that makes it, like, it's not a justification for maybe some of her capabilities, but it does maybe show some resilience a bit more of, like, or how you face these resilience. Like, it is a sort of light commentary as well on how, like, women tend to go about these sort of confronting feelings where they are in the, like, less powerful state more often than not societally, which I found interesting, but like, obviously at the front and center of it all, this is a pure comedy survival sort of drama, with a bit of action in there as well, and also, like, some horror sequences. I don't know if ever, like, would you clarify this as, like, is this alongside 28 years later, The Bone Temple? Like, are these two horror films in your mind, like, compared to each other, or, like, on different levels when it comes to that genre?
Different levels. I feel like there's a difference between horror and comedy horror. We got Scary Movie 6 coming out this year, so I think that's gonna be a better comparison with Send Help than with Bone Temple, naturally. But so Send Help, it's naturally getting compared to Castaway. This concept of survival, being on an island, it's been done a handful of times in different ways. You got Life of Pi. Hey, now it's on a boat, but they do also get on an island at a certain point. So there's been variations of this story, but this time they add a sort of male-female power dynamics to it. Can I also say, maybe it's already a bit spoilery, but you can definitely draw some comparisons to Triangle of Sadness as well.
Oh my god, I literally was thinking that right now.
Yeah. But not before? Only now?
I literally had that thought like a minute ago. I was like, oh, I never thought about, like, Triangle of Sadness, and I don't know what it triggered, but it's crazy.
I had that thought. I had that thought since I walked out of the screening, yeah.
Yeah, but it is a bit spoilery if you say concretely why, but yeah, definitely is.
But the biggest, MVP of this movie are definitely the two lead performances, because they are game. Dylan O'Brien, the reaction that he has, especially his line delivery of certain laughs.
Yeah.
like
So
to
good.
take a non-spoiler thing here. When they're on the plane, they're watching an older video, like they're watching an audition of Rachel McAdams' audition for Survivor, like that she put together, and they're watching it. And after a while, Rachel McAdams takes out her earpods. She notices that they are watching it, and Dylan O'Brien is like looking at her, and where normally some people would go, maybe we shouldn't laugh too hard. He actually doubles down on that moment and laughs even harder, and that's what makes that character great. And I guess a little bit more appealing to play. To be like, no, there's almost no humanity within this fucking guy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I mean, then the whole setup, which is I feel like still in non-spoiler territory, but I think we can talk spoilers pretty soon, is when he's stranded on this island, and for some time he is impaired in his leg, so he's sort of relying on her to sort of support for him. And I think the expectation that like Rachel McAdams's character places in the beginning is, once again, I have helped you, I expect some sort of back and forth for what I've done here, because just because you're higher up in the hierarchy on a company, you should still appreciate the work that I've put in. And I think it's such a like great allegory for the setup of the story, where we get to see it first of him not appreciating it in the workplace, and then him trying to uphold the same hierarchy and that falling down because the dependency is way different now, and sort of brings into question like how much should we rely on these like sort of unfair power hierarchies, and who can provide what. And then it's just like a ton of like snarky back and forth, like the way this movie is shot. Sam Raimi really loves like these dynamic shots and like close-ups as well. And I think the editing is strong, the cinematography is strong. Just like to say a few more general things before we get more into the story.
I mean, hell, the cinematographer is Bill Pope, and if you know Bill Pope's work, he's done legendary work. So he's done Baby Driver, The Matrix, Scott Pilgrim, or also the original Spider-Man. So the guy has done great work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
and you can definitely see, the mix of like, the Edgar Wright kinetic dynamic camera work paired with like the comedy that the horror comedy that Sam Raimi is known for, and it's a great pairing.
Absolutely. And
Spoilers?
maybe the weakest, we can actually go into spoilers, I think. Because the weakest part, I think, is actually the script.
Oh my god, we agree.
And
once again.
And look, I was just curious. Let me go to the writers, and it's two men, and they have written Baywatch, Freddy vs. Jason, and Friday the 13th to 2009 version. And since this is a movie about power dynamics on the work floor and on the deserted island that they are, I feel like they missed the opportunity to go for some big swings, because Luke and I watched it together, and when sitting down for a beer afterwards, we were like, don't you think he would have tried to rape her? Like to take actually physical advantage over her instead of... No, because here's the thing. This guy is a slime bag, and he's missing... You see his fiance very rarely. Would this guy without a woman in his life, whether it's beautiful or ugly, like actually last physically that long? We now are assuming he's also a very loyal guy to his fiance. And I feel like even if it doesn't go to that level, I feel like the insinuation should have been there at least. And I think perhaps because it's written by two guys, some of the power dynamics that happen between a woman and a man, whether it's in the working floor, whether it's in society, I feel like that is missing from this movie.
It's sort of the spin that it does is because she might be a little bit attracted to him, so that muddies that immediately for the sort of message that you're going for, right? That even like then I feel like that's an intentional cut on their end to not focus on that. And then because we are in spoilers, like the sort of where you jump to her like threatening to cut off his dick or like his balls. It's
Yeah, that was great stuff, I thought.
Yeah, exactly. And that has nothing to do with like that's sort of the take on his selfishness and trying to like what's it called? Encapsulate? No.
Castrate?
Just make her unable to move. I don't know why I'm missing the English word. I know the word, but I can't pronounce it.
Paralyzed? You can also just say paralyzed.
Paralyzed. He paralyzes her, yeah. Which I think...
Well, no, she paralyzes him.
Yeah. But like he poisons her.
Oh,
it's
a
little bit of a back and forth. Yeah. To me, like the first real moment where I was like, "Oh, we are in the Sam Raimi film," is like, the thing of like the other guy banging against the airplane window and then dying, but also when she fights the big hog, and the
blood starts pouring out and out and out, and there's more and more and more. And there's a disgusting film video of how he says, like, yeah, this is the perfect ingredients for blood, like fake blood on screen. And it's like, oh yeah, a bit of coffee to give that aerated look, thick syrup. And it's like, oh wow, this guy knows his fake blood.
And the way that it was shot, the way it was very over the top in the way where it was like, I get sort of the swings that it takes in the beginning where we are not going into the nuanced dynamics of this. It is more like a broader stroke. And then I felt like, because we point out that the screenplay is the weakness, if we had to point out one, it's that it plays a lot of like expected beats until we arrive at the end. And even I think the way that the movie caps off is all just sort of, you run through the motions of what is expected of a story like this, which can still be very entertaining. I just didn't think it was that compelling overall. Like, I think the story itself is not going, maybe some shots, some, scenes are going to stick with me, but not like the overall story. And I think that's fine, but that's certainly like the weak point, of the film overall.
I agree. Let's talk perhaps about, because you said that spoilery territory. So let's go into the spoilery territory with the comparison of Triangle of Sadness. Oh my god, surprise, there's an actual villa on the island itself, which I had sort of guessed, because especially with the boat, because I guess that people could think, oh, it's a rescue boat, like they're searching, but no, it's actually the boat of a private rich person that's on the island. And that twist is a bit of Triangle of Sadness, because hey, at the end of Triangle of Sadness, that's what happens as well.
Yeah,
I thought this movie is okay. It was fun. It is a story that is tough to improve upon, because the concept of someone stranded on an island is so simple, and the only real thing that you can change are the people that are stranded on the island, and look at the whole different people that have been stranded on islands, from Castaway to hell, you can even say Lost, to Life of Pi, and many, many others I'm probably even forgetting to this point. So it's really the people and the character on the island that make the movie or the show. And in this case, Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien are the people that make this movie work. And I enjoyed it a lot. I think it is a 7 out of 10 movie for me. I had a lot of fun. It is great to see Sam Raimi there. Perhaps with a bit of a stronger script, this movie would have been like a 4 out of 5, or like maybe even higher. But the creative team was there. They had a lot of fun. And if Sam Raimi does something else in the future, like another horror, maybe, maybe even another superhero movie, I wouldn't personally want it. But the guy has done some excellent work. I actually even really like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I think that movie worked because of him. The only movie that I haven't really seen of him is Army of Darkness and A Simple Plan. I also have not seen The Gift or For the Love of the Game, but the rest I have seen. I really like Darkman as well. The Quick and the Dead I adore, but his Evil Dead movies are obviously his most iconic movies. So I would say this is a good entry in his filmography, but not a standout.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's also because I quite enjoy the I was about to say the Evil Dead movies, but no, obviously not the Evil Dead movies, but Evil Dead. No, I'm talking about Evil Dead. What the fuck am I saying? I thought that, like, for some reason, because like now we've moved past Evil Dead being his thing to like some other people's take on it. But I like especially Evil Dead a lot. And I think Army of Darkness is great. Even the first one is pretty decent. Here, I just thought it was lacking a bit of like actual punch to it. I think some of the horror scenes were so over the top that sometimes it did like cross into CGI territory. Like for example with the eye thing, I was like, that's so over the top. But then I see the digital eye coming out, and I was like, I'm slightly taken out of the scene. But strong points were the comedy, especially when like Dylan O'Brien is sort of being a bit bratty and wants to like, you know, sort of assert some sort of dominance, which he clearly can't, and sort of his desperation creeping in. I think it sort of slightly drags through the middle there, and it needs that sort of the connection point where they both like tell each other a secret that they haven't told like someone else. And she says that like she had the abusive husband that like at one point she didn't take his keys. She used to always take his keys when he's drunk, and he went out, got into a car accident and died. And he throws that back at her later on of sort of like, oh no, you're capable of like killing someone, of letting someone die, and you're capable of murder. And it sort of brings that into question of like, is she sweet talking what actually happened, or is she actually being honest? And it felt like in that moment she definitely was honest, but then it juxtaposes it with you know, the rescue mission of her letting them not be found, and then also his girlfriend or his fiance arriving there with other help, and she's letting both of them die, or like basically you know, in a way like killing them, right? In the way that like, I don't know,
inadvertently.
She definitely like plans it out for them to not arrive there. And I mean, the question is like, she's so unwilling to return to the real world, and in a lot of ways like we see often like her having nightmares and like sort of these glimpses of sort of the fears that she has, which are also quite Sam Raimi, you know, those visions of something like something over the top, and I think all of those things are like sort of fine. It just adds together to it adds together into a very entertaining movie. I was at a 6.5 like out of 10 for this one, but I had a decent time.
And it's not like if Dylan O'Brien's character didn't survive, but any of the others, that the situation would have changed. All the people that were on the airplane were all assholes, and the situation would have played out the same. Perhaps not with the same, you know, brattiness or dominance that Dylan O'Brien holds over her, but I do think the movie would not have changed that much. But yeah, enjoyed it. From one plane crash to another wreck, which is The Wrecking Crew. Oh. Did you like that one?
Sure, yeah, I'll give, yeah, sure. 6.5 out of 10 as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the latest film from Angel Manuel Soto, who also made Blue Beetle and Charm City Kings, and it stars Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa as two brothers who, after the death of their father, reunite because he died in a mysterious car crash that they believe to not have been an actual accident. As they search for the truth, buried secrets reveal a conspiracy threatening to tear their family apart. And it's set on Hawaii, and one of them is like Dave Bautista is a commander in the not in the Navy, in the where is he? No, he is a commander in the Navy, right?
Yeah,
and
U.S. Navy.
Momoa is a cop who is not is on the mainland. Then it has like sort of the Yakuza as antagonists for some really unnecessary like reasons, just because it's a group of people that I guess, you know, they have to fight. And this is a very okay action movie that has some pretty decent and R-rated sort of kills. It's very bloody in some moments, but other than that, really like hits home just a bunch of like expected and known stereotypes and sort of cliched things that happen in action movies. It feels like every other action movie that is produced in the States nowadays has to do like a hallway shot, an homage to like Old Boy in a way, and very obvious like bad guy reveal. There's no real stakes, so like at least every now and then you get a scene where there's a hidden gun vault and you just see an arsenal of weapons, and that's sort of the idealized version of like this sort of manliness and power thing, is like when you can shoot well and big guy punch hard. That's sort of the toughness that is like coming forward from these action movies, and it's just there's not a lot of substance. It's just a bit but yeah, what did you think about Wrecking Crew? As the action guy, were you at least entertained by the action?
Not really, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because I sent you the trailer for this movie when it came out, and I said to you, the story of this movie is gonna be ass, but I hope at least the action delivers. And the action like halfway delivers. I think this movie could have been improved on quite a few fronts, actually. Temuera Morrison, aka Boba Fett, is in this movie. And the moment that he appeared, I knew like, bad guy. Cool, bad guy. And you know what would have been actually much more effective? If Temuera Morrison was the father of Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa. And he is in that opening scene, because in the opening scene we follow this guy that's being clearly chased, and you're like, oh my god, it's Boba Fett getting chased. Then naturally, perhaps with a bit more resistance, perhaps with a bit more action in the opening scene, because like Matt Damon was on the Rogan podcast, and like there have been a bunch of clips, but like fed from that podcast, but the thing that they say on there are actually quite interesting. And for example, he says with the Netflix thing, like, oh, can you open like with an action scene in the first like 5 or 10 minutes, and then in your second act you have one more, and then in your third one you have one more, but now you need to open one to hold the audience attention. And I feel like if you have Temuera Morrison in that opening scene and he resists a bit more, then at least the stakes are a bit higher. And then the reveal of, hey, this famous actor is corrupted actually, and he's the bad guy, like that one fades away.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa have a sort of expectation as action people, so they don't really play brothers in this world. They play these two action heroes that can have one-liners and say they're like indestructible, or like I'm the bear, or like some cringe shit like that, which wouldn't fly in the sort of setup that these characters exist in. But because we know them as action heroes, they also have to be action heroes in these movies, and it just like doesn't allow for anything interesting to happen.
And the dialogue is horrendous.
Yeah,
the dialogue is horrendous. Like literally, we could right now play a scene like of just us two riffing against each other, be like, oh, you're just a fucking asshole, and it'd be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
It's like it's if they're improvising and in the script it just says brotherly banter, you know.
You know how oftentimes people say nowadays with streaming movies, oh, it feels like it was written with AI. This movie is one of the first that actually makes me feel that way. I must admit. I know you watched the slop a bit more than me. So you probably had that with a bunch of movies so far, especially the Netflix action movies. And that's also a thing I want to say. Because this is a Prime Video movie, and actually the Prime Video action movies over the years, there have been some stinkers, with the what was that? The pickup
a lot
or
of
something.
A lot of their IP stuff is like they are trying to like hone in on like one thing, and then just like the Citadel thing. They were just like all in. They did like 7 spin-offs from that like immediately.
But
a lot of it.
There are some solid ones over the years as well. You got your Roadhouse, at least had very good action in it. You had your guy. They weren't necessarily Prime Video, but they are like on Prime Video now. So yeah. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. You have last year's Play Dirty by Shane Black. I actually rather quite liked. At least the action was very solid in that one. Here, it's just nothing for me. And it's a bit of a shame, because when I look at the director of this, Angel Manuel Soto, it's like you have Charm City Kings, which apparently like was the movie that I haven't seen it, but that is the movie that put him on the map. And then he gets locked into the studio system of, hey, now you may make Blue Beetle, which Blue Beetle was okay, but now it's like Wrecking Crew. You see these directors and it's like, please, just go make something of your own. like something original, something creative, something that echoes your voice.
I think our craving for a section like Spotlight World Cinema, where we every week, decide, okay, at least one international film that isn't American, is sort of like pointing out even more the shortcomings of the system that even, the non-blockbusters who are like the streaming VOD release films also are being dumped down in a way that is just like so frustrating. Like there's nothing to actually there's a couple of action scenes, and I can skip from action scene to action scene, and then I was entertained for maybe a solid 25 to 30 minutes.
Same.
And that's like, to me, the parts that I really enjoyed about this film. I think there was some really like scene stealing moments, especially like the opening when we first get to see Jason Momoa. I hate when he talks, but like, the way that it introduces him as like this force to be reckoned with, that's fun. But like, if there's
and it's alcoholic as well, very fun.
Yeah, very fun. Yeah.
Can I just say, I don't think many Guinnesses are being, I just don't think there are many Guinnesses on Hawaii. Like, this guy only drinks Guinness, and it's like, are you sure that's the only drink that's available on Hawaii? And even at home, it's like, no way you drink that much Guinness in America.
No, it's definitely not sponsored or anything.
No.
You know what? I also have seen. I can take this away, so I don't have to mention it later on. But I also watched Drunken Master this week, and the Jackie Chan movie, where he's also like has like it's a comedy that also knows a bit more how to play its comedy. Like a lot of it falls flat too in the comedy aspect, but the action is so overwhelmingly crazy. It is bonkers. So that like, it's just so entertaining on that front. And it also is like sort of the premise that you need to be intoxicated to a certain level to unlock a new fighting style where like, you're sort of stumbling around, and it's just it's so well done. I think all of the story is also pretty ass overall. Like, it doesn't really make much sense. It's pretty like, and that's okay if you compensate. But within these action scenes, in these American ones, they distract you with so many quippy one-noters where they want to hone in, like where they want to reaffirm sort of certain dynamics again, and it's just like so cringy. They take you out of it, and it's a bit of the detriment. Like, they don't need to be amazing, these movies, but they just need to focus on what they're good at, which is like, some of the action moments are actually like the highlight, obviously, of these movies.
Even the actors that are like do pop up in these roles. I mean, Morena Baccarin is like, she appears in the beginning of the movie, and it's like, I'm out, bye. And then it's like, I got my auto check again. Yeah, I can shoot again. And then she rejoins the movie.
There's like one scene where she said, "There's no way I'm coming to Hawaii." Cut to her coming down the escalator. I was like, was that supposed to be a joke? I was like, is that to be like, what's the comedy here?
And then you got Klaus Bang, which again, I feel like with Kyle Chandler in The Whip a few weeks ago, and it's like, now we are getting these stereotype of characters in action movies as well, and it's like, I'm a bit tired of it, and it's not to like bonk on the head of like American streaming action movies, but I mean, we've talked about some Hong Kong movies over the years, over the last few weeks. Bro, they're so much better paced as well. Like, this movie is 124 minutes. Again, some of the Johnny To movies that we've talked about are like barely 90, and like they are just way more exciting. This movie just feels so long as well.
What's also frustrating is that like a lot of the time they are so overly confident that you just like waltz into a room and then they get shot at. Obviously, they can't get shot, for their own stupidity of just like walking and having their backs turned and not being alert at all. So everything has to be done with ease as well. And it's like, that's not intriguing about action. It's like when you actually see the strain, or it's just physically impressive with like, the Jackie Chan thing, everything he does and who he fights. It actually is like, in these wide shots that last a bit longer. And then you're like, holy fuck, how did they do that? How did they not like get hurt in a way where they can't walk for 3 days? And I just don't feel like, I guess I'm contradicting it here, because like there are these moments.
Like, can I just say, for example, at a certain moment, Dave Bautista tries to investigate into his father's death, and he sees a camera hanging, and the camera is connected to a sex shop, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, perhaps we're gonna have a fight scene within the sex shop. That could be creative, right?"
Yeah.
Then he just whips one guy's nipple ring out or something, and then that's it. Like, there were 4-5 more guys in that shop, but that's it. we cut, and it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's an interesting environment to have the fight in, you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. Nope. The next thing is just to have, hey, we have this USB footage now in a dildo, in a tiny dildo. And it's like, bro, what are we doing in this movie, man?
Exactly. And then the sort of cap off for them as well to like it's sort of sequel baiting, but then it's like cutting that short because money.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, are they gonna do it? Thank God they didn't, but fuck me, dude. This movie was not good. It's a shame because I feel like Prime Video has at least a bit of a higher bar than Netflix in their action movies, but this one stoops maybe even below that bar. I must say, like, it's at least on par, if not below.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 10, but honestly, 4.5, maybe even, you know, somewhere in that region.
I was quite well entertained when it comes to the action scenes. So like I gave it a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5.5, but yeah, there's definitely better action movies out there.
That's seldom. Like you rating an action movie higher than me, it's very rare.
True, but I liked some of the I liked that it at least had R-rated stuff in there. You know, the arm coming off when they're like on the road, the cheese grater thing, like some of that stuff really stood out.
That was great. Cheese grater was really good.
Yeah.
If you see me being distracted, it's because I'm watching the Australian Open score. Djokovic right now is playing against Sinner in 5 sets. It's crazy. They've been playing for 4 hours now. It's crazy. We're getting 2 semifinals that are as big as this. And I'm like punching myself for not watching this match right now. It's 5-4. Djokovic served for the match. It's crazy. And you're going to keep this in because like this shows how dedicated I am to the podcast.
I guess. I did my hockey watching before, but I guess this is live. So
yeah, this is live. Anyway, what do you want to talk about now? You want to talk about Castaway because you've watched that? You want to talk about Sundance? You want to talk about the spotlight? Because my spotlight is nothing because I've been editing the montage. So that's been taking my time away. I hope to have it finished next week. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to work on it this weekend. But the montage, hey, you heard it here first. A exclusive from ours.
Yeah,
I love how it's an exclusive for our own stuff.
Yeah, no, promising the setup. Next week, we are going to release the montage as well as the horror video that we recorded at the end of December. That is in the works.
Not
and about
beginning
3
of
interviews
December.
that I did. There's a lot of backlog and, you know, so much to talk about. I know, I'm not going to mention Castaway again. I think that was supposed to be a little bit of a tie-in that I didn't really talk about much during Send Help
But
review.
did you like Castaway?
I did like it. It was a bit cheesy though, like in a lot of ways, but it was fairly entertaining. Give that like a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I thought that moment definitely was bigger in pop culture than it is in the movie itself. Yeah, you can stop. It's fine. You know what? The thing is, Kevin has been trying to rage bait me for a long time. Or like maybe it's just like dynamic at the moment. It is also like that, but because I stayed up for Sundance, like for press, became available on Wednesday at 4, and then the day after now it's also available to the public until Sunday. And I went to binge 7 movies back to back, and because my whole sleep schedule is like sort of fucked up now, I've been grumpier than usual, and there's a variety of reasons to be like distracted by in the world right now, to be mad and angry, which I'm also. And in addition to that, like my sleep schedule being upended, I'm just not in a great mood. But coming back from Sundance,
and he's gonna be even in a better mood because you got more movies during the night. When Sunday?
Oh yeah, Sunday to Monday I will watch another 7-ish movies, so I'll report back.
So he's gonna be even grumpier. Let's go.
But I'll have a bit of more of a buffer until we record next. And depending on if I get to see a few more screeners, I might do a separate Sundance video. But for this is sort of like abbreviated Sundance coverage, and I got to see 7 films here, like 4 films that I actually 3 films that I gave a 4-star rating to, and I believe they were very solid. That I don't think they could move up further in my ranking, but they were Hot Water, Josephine, and Union County. I think those 3 films were all very solid. Josephine was the one that got the most hype out of the early couple of days that were on location only, and this one is one that's also playing, I believe, in competition, so it is somewhat accessible. Obviously, like they sell out these screenings as well, the online ones, but this one is about like an 8-year-old kid who's the daughter of Channing Tatum and Gemma Chan's character. She witnesses a crime in a park and is then sort of forced to reckon with that way earlier than a child is supposed to. And it's the whole movie is like the parents kind of struggling to readjust to that reality with that different parenting style. And they are like, the approach of how the story is told is very much from within this the daughter. And like sometimes in POV shots as well. Like the movie starts out with POV, so it's playing with that perspective. And then I think one of the shortcomings for it is that it needs to jump through a couple of hoops of how this impacts this kid a bit much, where I was like, it's stretching the believability of it a bit. But it resonates very much like on an emotional level with you very easily. It's sort of frustrating in all the right places. It feels like a portrait of a world very accurately. And I think Channing Tatum's performance is also really good in this. We were joking right before we watched this that Channing Tatum Oscar contention, best lead, and I wouldn't have him all the way up there. I think like someone like Graf Fiennes is ahead of him when it comes to that, but I think it's one of the best performances of the year so far. And then my actual highlight was Hot Water. This one stars Lubna Azabal, who many people probably know from Incendie, where she was the lead there from Denis Villeneuve. And this one is about her and her 19-year-old kid who like go on a forced upon road trip of her bringing him to his dad, who they've been estranged with for a couple of years after he gets into a fight. He's a hockey player, which obviously puts it for me a bit higher up. But he gets into a fight and is kicked out of school. He's already repeated 2 years. And she's Lebanese, right? So she has like that sort of connection back to Beirut. Some of her family is there. And it is a lot about like, again, about parenting, about providing the right things for yourself, for the people below you, your child, but also your parents. Yeah, I found this to be quite moving. It might not be for everyone, but I just connected with it. Also, the hockey always gives it a bit of a boost. When it's like, it's not a spoiler, but when it's revealed that he's a goalkeeper and not an actual defenseman or forward, I was like, that clicks in. That makes sense for all of that. It's also a pretty fun movie. So Hot Water, and then lastly, Union County, which comes in with a bit of star power through Will Poulter and Noah Centineo. Noah Centineo plays a bit more of like a side part in this movie. It's very much focused around Will Poulter, who is an addict and the older brother to Noah Centineo through foster care. Then they are in this like county in Ohio that assigns them like they're mandated to like check in and basically do drug tests again and again, and there's sort of programs to keep them on track to go through recovery. And it's very much just focuses on the struggles of like keeping clean and having all of that guilt of what you've done before and the people you've let down. I found it to be quite harrowing and also incredibly moving. Will Poulter really delivers in this role. Yeah, Union County, definitely keep that on your radar. It's also based on a short film that came out in 2020 from the same director. I believe this is his feature film debut. And then some other films like The Incomer stars Domhnall Gleeson as sort of the incomer onto this little Scottish island where there have been like Isla and Sandy, who have been there for generations, the only family to remain there, and they are like basically have sworn in to be like bird people with like these seagulls, and they just cherish that world, that land, and are very simple, obviously have no education, and see everything that's coming in from the mainland as something evil that they have to fight against. So there's a lot of like that comedy that I think it reminds a bit of the Ballad of Wallace Island, with sort of the lightheartedness of the naivete of someone who doesn't really know how to behave properly, and a lot of situational humor. Very entertaining. Gave this a 7 out of 10. Han-chan, Shake Your Booty is a film that also played in the US dramatic competition, that mainly takes place in Tokyo though, and is about this recently widowed dancer who has to sort of find herself again after the loss of her husband Louis. Yeah, it's one that like has a lot of like crazy visions. There's like a a grief animal in here that's like a raven that reappears in sort of like a big costume. That like a lot of it is like not really for me. It didn't really work to mesh the comedy with the drama, but I'm sure people who love to dance a bit more than I do are going to like this a bit more than I did, but I thought it was just kind of okay. Then Kogonada's new film Z, starring once again Haley Lou Richardson, is sort of a poem movie where we wander the streets of Hong Kong with a character who has some sort of brain problem where the next morning she has to go back into a clinic to get it checked out. And she is like haunted by visions of her future self, and she meets a stranger played by Haley Lou Richardson, who she also like sort of connects to in a way that she knows her. While watching, I had a lot of speculations of what the relationship is to the people that she meets, and I didn't really call it out one-to-one, but I think what it ultimately builds to isn't much. It's just sort of a very ethereal observation of time and space and love, and it's a bit of everything. I think it's a bit too ambitious in what it's trying to evoke in you. It's definitely going to be like one that you either very much connect with or you don't, and I was caught somewhere in the middle. Only gave this a 5 out of 10, but it might be very much for some Kogonada lovers a bit more on the side of like Columbus and that sort of thing, where they actually like that a lot. And then the movie I liked the least was the musical. Was the most promised. People told me beforehand to not read up on the premise to sort of not ruin where this movie ultimately goes to, but it's centers around middle school theater teacher who, after his ex-girlfriend starts dating the principal, who he sees as his nemesis, he goes on a mission to like basically ruin the chances of him getting a blue ribbon for the school, which is sort of an accolade that he's trying to go for. So it's like a movie about like sabotage, but also the lead character is so unpleasant the whole time that I'm never rooting for him like at least like a tiny bit, and it feels like it's a sort of Tim Robinson bit that isn't really thought out in the way that it wants to portray this character, because it also like looks at him in a way where you're not just like feeling disgusted the whole time, and I feel like you should. It's like a premise that works maybe as a short film, maybe as an SNL, maybe not an SNL bit, but like as a bit, but it doesn't work as like a stretched out 84-minute movie. And it was only 84 minutes, but I felt this one drag quite a bit. So I only gave this a 4 out of 10. But that's all the Sundance films I've watched so far. Kevin, when it comes to those, obviously you're watching tennis right now. So I don't know if you listen to me.
Nah,
like
the match is over. The match is over. Djokovic has won, which is insane. I mean, the guy not played 2 matches. I mean, he hasn't really played like his quarterfinal and his fourth round, but that's insane. Djokovic has won from Sinner.
I got no clue.
Oh man,
I'm not tapped into the tennis.
I mean, let's just say, right. So like the last 8 Grand Slams was always divided between Alcaraz or Sinner, and Djokovic like always reached either quarters or semis. Last year, he reached always semis. So the fact that he's now into his 11th Australian Open final, and she's chasing that 25th Grand Slam, insane. But that's all I have to add, because I've not watched any movies. Like you can see during your Sundance, I had reactions to the score because he has multiple match points.
It was incredibly distracting. I should have like turned off his screen because you kept making faces. I was like, wait, is that something that I'm saying, or is he just tracking a fucking ball like a dog?
I'm watching the score. I'm not even watching the match. I'm just watching the score. Like 2 numbers change. That's it.
Out of the movies that maybe you heard me talk about, which one are you the most intrigued by?
I know I am such a big fan of Lithuanian. Hey, 12 Angry Men is my fourth favorite,
I
baby.
haven't even talked about these. I mean, the Sundance stuff. I haven't talked.
Oh, the Sundance stuff?
I've only
I'm sorry.
talked
I
about
thought you meant... Z was unfortunately my top 10 most anticipated with Coronada, especially because I love Columbus. Like, that's one of my favorite movies of his. And yeah, was really looking forward to Z. Too bad that not many people like it coming out of Sundance. But I'm really looking forward to Josephine. I heard so much about Josephine from people out of the festival.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the most to Josephine. Also, like a whole bunch of other ones that aren't available online that they are doing a lot of bidding wars for. I know like Olivia Wilde has been called out the winner of Sundance because she's been in 2 very good movies. One that she directed herself as well, I believe. And the reason that they are calling it it's the comeback of Olivia Wilde because with the last movie, Don't Worry Darling, and all the behind the scenes controversy of that one, this is definitely a win that she needed in her career, I guess, and she's gotten that praise. So I'm very happy for her.
Yeah, that's the one. I don't think there's like multiple bidding wars going on. It really is only that one where like there was like Netflix was going for it, Neon was going for it, and A24 won out to
a lot of ones. Yeah,
got the invite. To me, wait, I'm checking on IMDb and it's got like a 5.5 average. I don't know what are these people who like hate her because they're Harry Styles fans. Like this fandom makes no sense to me. But like that one is one that's not available even to press online. So yeah, it's going to one that we have to wait for. And with A24 only distributing in the States, you just hope that there's a local distributor that's paying attention, also picking this up, so we get like a release for it sooner than later internationally for it as well. But I'm quite intrigued by that. And obviously there's a bunch of like documentaries that will know, like I think all of the 5 films that are nominated for Best Picture Documentary have all premiered at Sundance, I believe, this year. So
wow,
there's always like I'm not watching documentaries this year, unfortunately, because the person I'm watching it with,
History of Concrete, is the one that
is having
gotten the most praise.
But then because it's also the highest profile, but then there's a ton of like ones that seem very interesting that are like public access. Like there's a ton of them that look very interesting, and I hope they go to some other festivals or we get access to them to shout them out. But for documentaries, you often have to wait until they release on VOD, so it's actually accessible to people.
Or like just have done the rounds on festivals, and that way you know which ones are worth it, or like have some sort of backing behind them as well, naturally.
Yeah, for it to release, you mean, at some point? Or
for release, for buzz,
right.
Just everything in general.
I that's true, but like part of that is that like, obviously we don't have a big audience, but like we are the ones, like part of that process of creating buzz for it to talk about it. So like, I don't know, I would probably be checking these out if I get access to it. Regardless, we have a bunch of access to screeners for like, we got a few for the Rotterdam Festival, which is happening right now. We got a few for Berlinale, which we won't be attending in person. But we'll be trying to shout these movies out from the festival circuit all year round.
We're spotlighting these movies.
We're spotlighting them. And I do have a few more, which I'm not going to review any of these. I'm just telling you what I've watched, maybe.
No. I know you want to talk about Anaconda. I just know.
I desperately.
All right?
No, first I want to talk about Sidney Lumet, because I
spoiled that one.
Randomly this week on TikTok, I saw a scene of like a movie with Ethan Hawke, and I just wasn't sure. Wait, where's this from? Wait, there's a scene with like Philip Seymour Hoffman in it. What's this movie? And it was crazy. I've never heard of Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, and I was like, wait, the guy who made 12 Angry Men, Sidney Lumet, has like a movie starring these two. Obviously, I've heard of Network, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. I haven't seen them. Like, the only movie of his that I've seen is 12 Angry Men, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I know it's for you as well, one of your favorites. Have you seen more of his work, or like what sort of your familiarity with him as a director?
Let me quickly
go on Letterboxd. He isn't even ready. He isn't even ready for my question. Look at this guy.
I have seen 5 of his films.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have seen Murder on the Orient Express. I have seen The Verdict. I love The Verdict.
Okay.
Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, I adore. And The Offense, a movie with Sean Connery that I also quite liked. I would say Murder on the Orient Express and The Offense are, like 7 out of 10s, but those are still like 7 out of 10s. And The Verdict and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, I think I've both given like a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And then 12 Angry Men, obviously, it's like
it's a perfect movie.
One of the perfect movies of all time for me. Just naturally, that is a 5 out of 5. But I've wanted to discover his filmography for quite a while. I own a lot more of his movies, I should say. Like, I do own Dog Day Afternoon Network, Serpico. I own Running on Empty, I think. No, it's actually in one of the boxes. I own Failsafe. I own Death Trap. I own Prince of the City.
Damn,
I own way. And even
more
like,
that you've seen,
and even a small movie like Q&A with Nick Nolte, I've had that movie on my radar for so long. The Deadly Affair. So many movies of his that I want to discover, but I just haven't really had the time for it yet, or like the focus on him. But
well, the thing is,
you clearly had.
I sort of had to hold myself back. Because
to watch more
last night and the night before, no, actually the night before I watched Sundance, but the night before Sundance, I was like, well, at one point I was like, I gotta stay up until 5 a.m. So like I sort of settle in and don't get overtired when I watch Sundance. I ended up scrolling social media for 3 hours, getting really depressed, as you do. But then I was like, lock in, let's watch some other movies. And I have Serpico, I have Network that are ready to go that I want to see. But I did watch Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. And I really liked it. I really thought it's like one of those films that is like, overlooked for a reason. I honestly have never heard anyone talk about this film. Ever.
What?
I never. Completely off my radar. And Ethan Hawke might be one of my favorite actors. And I just like, I don't know. And to me, it's been a huge blind spot for any of like his films apart. And I know for me a long time, I really wanted to see more of his stuff. And it was just like, the movies are too big to like approach, where you feel like, oh, you got to be in the right mood, right whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I've had that.
And I realized this year, fuck that. I'm always ready for a good movie. And I literally am.
I mean, depending on the team, I'm gonna guess. It's not like you're gonna, for example, I haven't seen Schindler's List, but it's not like I'm gonna be like, tonight, I'm tonight and feel like Schindler's List.
It's not like I'm hyping myself up to watch like a certain movie, but to me it was like holding off watching these. There's no reason for it. And I did end up watching Failsafe as well. You own, right? But you haven't seen it yet. Or
no, I have Pawnbroker literally right there.
And that one's in the top Letterboxd 250 as well. A lot of his films are.
I think a lot of his films,
It's spot number 200. Kevin, I gave this a 5-star on the first watch.
I know, which you rarely do, but
I've been doing it more and more. I feel like I have done that because like with more recent releases, I feel like that's a whole process of that movie being seen. But with older stuff, I feel like it's a bit more fair to give it a 5-star on a first watch as well. But it's crazy that this came out the same year that Doctor Strangelove came out.
I was gonna mention it, yeah.
Yeah. Fistful of Dollars as well. 1964 was a great year for films. And this one also stars Henry Fonda. Because of a technical defect of an American bomber team mistakenly taking orders for the destruction of Moscow, you see the US president trying to react to that and prevent an atomic catastrophe from occurring. And I think it's sort of the question that it poses in a time where that was still like incredibly relevant, like in the mid-60s, where that conflict isn't at all resolved and goes on for like another 20 years, man. It is fucking crazy that the way that he goes about telling the story. And I found it so incredibly intriguing, so incredibly affirming in a time where I see like mass protests happening in the States right now. I was like, oh, this is reaffirming my belief in humanity, that what I'm seeing online of like the stupid people with loud mouths is actually such a minority. We have it was also very depressing because I was like, oh, there's level-headed people in the world that are getting depicted in these stories like this. But it was like, God damn it, man. Humanity is like, we need to believe in it again, because like it feels like we're not anymore. And I found this movie like it's so incredibly moving in that way. It was thrilling. It was tense. Like really, really well made, and compared to something like Catherine Bigelow's what's it called?
House of Dynamite.
Exactly. I think like that movie is souring on me a bit more. I did like it more than most other people did. I wasn't.
Well, but you also have to realize that Doctor Strangelove and Failsafe came out 2 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
So it's definitely influenced by that. And with House of Dynamite, it's more like this treaty around nuclear weapons expires this year, or like even the next year. So they are talking about 2 different tensions with House of Dynamite and
well, in Failsafe, it's
and
also,
Doctor Strangelove.
I don't want to spoil it for you and for those who haven't seen it yet, which I do think people go see this film.
I will once upon a time watch it.
But it is also sort of, in a way, it's criticizing the structures put in place by machines, because machines ultimately fail if there's like on the higher end of like how you develop them. When there's not a human at the back end making these final decisions, that's where we fail, because like it's a mechanical error. And obviously this is like in a time in the mid-60s. We are now having digital problems, and like they're very different, but like there's an equivalent to it that I found so striking how relevant that discussion is to this day. That this movie, timeless. It's great. And then I also watched Dog Day Afternoon, and obviously I knew some beats of it, but I always tried to stay clear of it to not be spoiled by like how it actually plays out. But it's just like one of the quintessential Al Pacino performances, and also to me the sort of themes that it goes into, of sort of that he finds these frustrations in a world where he couldn't have been popular. It was popular with the people, but like the sort of things he criticizes are like the largest structures in place. I find it in all of his movies, and I found that really interesting, because I thought these voices were more off center, or not in like, you find them broader, but they're so poignant. Yeah, I was kind of just surprised and blown away by the film as well. I gave this 9 out of 10.
Should also say, you said Al Pacino, I raise you John Cazale, because most famously he's like an actor that only appeared in 5 movies, but which all got a Best Picture nomination before passing away, I believe. Yeah. So, and like exactly, he's a very vital part in Dog Day Afternoon, a bit more than the other ones, I would say, right? I haven't seen the movie, but I thought he was a bit more prominent in that one compared to others.
Yeah, he's basically he's like the other person who goes in with him to do the robbery, and he seems like the one who we get to know about a bit less, and that makes him sort of mysterious but also dangerous, because we get revealed more and more about Al Pacino's character as it goes on, and sort of the vulnerability and his humanity are very much like unraveled as we go on, and it just makes the whole thing a bit more tragic, the story. But yeah, also, this is based on something that really happened, and obviously the pairing this with Dead Man's Wire I found really interesting.
Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. It's actually getting a Broadway play starring John Bernthal and Eben Moss Barack.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but yeah, the guy who most people know from The Bear, he's also in the Fantastic Four. Is John Bernthal playing the character of Sonny, or like the lead?
Let me quickly see.
That to me makes both would make sense. I think both could play that. John Bernthal is seemingly more expected to play the role of Sal, as like the angrier person, but I think it would be way more interesting if John Bernthal plays the Sonny character.
I'm trying to see who's playing who, but it's opening March of 10th of March.
Oh, okay.
I see. I don't see who's playing who. Sorry.
Well, I'm still intrigued by that. I didn't know that, but yeah. It also says in the synopsis it turns into a media circus, which definitely is happening around it, but just as much is like criticizing what is like taking in the massacre that has happened at a prison, where the police killed a ton of inmates and a bunch of police officers themselves, just like firing into a crowd when there was a revolt happening. And I do have to check what the place is called, but it was like in Attica. And yeah, it's like obviously I don't have to draw the comparisons to you right now, but like there are these lingering frustrations in American life nowadays, and I feel like this also hones in, like, it's something with his work that always strikes a chord to present time as well, which I feel like is always because he strikes to something, yes, culturally that has stayed the same, something that is essential to like the human experience of like the sort of frustrations that we have. It's really impressive, man. As what an incredibly impressive filmmaker, and I will be watching more probably as soon as next week. I probably have watched Network and also.
No, then that means
Serpico.
I need to watch them as well.
You don't. You also didn't this week, so it's fine.
But, well, to be fair, you didn't give me a heads up. Now I know. So it's
the thing is, we came to the sort of decision that, like, at least for me, I made the decision. I don't know if you had anything to say about it, but I just don't want to, like, just restrict myself to watching stuff that we both have seen to talk about it, because there's too much to talk about overall. And I don't always need to mention it on a podcast, but this was just a long-winded reminder to tell you, go watch more of Sidney Lumet's films, because they're amazing.
Exactly. Again, I haven't figured out who's playing who, but what would be interesting is if they switch roles, like, from day to day.
Yeah, they play both. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Couple of other films that I watched. I already mentioned Drunken Master. Also watched North by Northwest by Alfred Hitchcock. A couple of years ago, I did go through his whole filmography chronologically, because I could grab it right now, but I won't. There's like the Hitchcock Truffaut book that's like this thick, with a lot of like conversations going through all of the movies as well. It's incredibly interesting. And I had this whole project while I was still in like film school, doing my film studies, that with a group of people we ended up watching a couple of movie nights where we watched Hitchcock movies, but I never got up to his latter few films in the 50s. So I haven't seen North by Northwest. I haven't seen The Birds. I haven't seen Dial M for Murder, To Catch a Thief, like some of his more known films, but I watched like all of his previous, like all the first films he did. I watched all of those.
Ewan, I have seen no Hitchcock movies.
Like, not even one?
No. And funnily enough, I own all of them.
Well, there's his collections, but hold up. You selected the pick for next week. For
Yeah.
Kevin, I feel like by emergency you have to watch Rope.
You know what the funny thing is?
That's the only film that you watched. I expect that, because
I know,
you wrote a
I know,
thesis
because
paper.
it's the Warner.
Yeah, it's the Warner, and it's like sort of the birthplace of the Warner. So it's crazy to me that you haven't even seen that one. You can choose between Rope or Rear Window, but we were talking about a Hitchcock movie next week.
Fuck.
Kevin, that is crazy to me. You can't have not seen a Hitchcock film. That's crazy. I feel like I'm giving you homework, and you're actually like sort of pissed off that I'm making you give homework.
Shit. I'm looking at filmography right now.
Oh, you want to choose one? I'm giving you two of his best films.
I know. Well, Rope isn't really considered his best, but
I know, but I gave that a 9 out of 10.
Fine. I'll do Rope.
Okay, I'm catering to you. Like, Rear Window, I would argue is his best film.
The thing is, the reason why I've never really gone into Hitchcock movies is because, again, you hear so much about this guy, and I know all of his like shtick. Like, you hear about his formula, his the way he structures his movies, he constructs his movies. So that's why I've never really been like, oh, I'm gonna put one on right now, because it's like I've seen so many of these scenes in film school, or like just over the years already, and I feel like I've watched all of Hitchcock movies without actually having seen one.
I know, but you're making that disconnect. Like, I feel like you're making it tougher than it actually is. I don't know how it is for you. I know, but because you get wrapped into the story a lot. Like, North by Northwest is obviously one of his most famous ones.
Yeah.
About like a guy on the run.
On the run
with Cary Grant, who is just like such a leading face, and the sort of thriller aspects of it all are very intriguing. Obviously, like, incredibly well made film. I gave that one a 9 out of 10. Seek it out.
Fun fact: my grandfather, like, he has watched a lot of Hitchcock. He actually does not like North by Northwest. Like, he said, he prefers the, again, for him, he actually prefers the before he really did a lot of color films, like he's more black
Mhm.
and white film, that he actually likes those more.
Yeah. That like this feels like a larger budget Hitchcock movie, definitely. It's like one that has a lot of like set pieces, bigger moments and stuff. I also think it's funny that like I never noticed that, but on the poster it has him, and literally in the opening scene of the film, it's like Alfred Hitchcock, the cameo he does like in the first moment, and it feels like let's just get it over with so people are not focused on, you know, where do I pop up in this movie? And it's like a guy waiting for a bus. But yeah, it has the romance. It has a lot of the expected tropes, but then it also subverts them in a way a bit. And nothing too crazy. I think Hitchcock was definitely like within a lane that he stuck to what he's great at. But then he was like, I wrote down multiple times like, this is fucking peak, man. It's crazy. He like nails this shit so well.
And I never want to read your notes. I feel like it's so, like the way you always say like, oh yeah, I put so much ha 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 or like LMAO or peak thing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like me to capturing the state of what I was feeling in the moment.
But,
no. Another film that I watched because I got a screener for it is for.
You looked very much forward to this movie.
Yeah, I feel like you're overemphasizing it a bit. Like we also talked about this privately with Arco. I was looking forward to it just because it was ever so closely in my within my grasp to see it, and then it kept getting delayed more and more. And I think I sort of knew the expectations that I placed onto the film. I never expected it honestly to be like one of my favorite films of the year, but I just thought that I might really like it. It's one that sees like a 10-year-old who's living very much in the future, who's like part of this part of the people who like basically are traveling back in time through rainbows, and he preemptively goes on a trip and gets stuck in the year 2057 2075, where he meets a girl who's the same age as he is, and they try to go back. And even that is like, obviously we are in the future there, and there's like robots, but the different sort of way of living and these two connecting. It's a very sweet movie, but it also has like some of the comedic beats didn't really connect with me. Like the three guys, the brothers that chased them was like to me a bit much. But I liked it. It has like the, you know, the heart in the right place, but it's like it's a bit overbearing. But it was really impressive. It's very beautiful.
It reminded you of which movie?
What did I say?
Like the one animated French movie that we've been already climbing.
Oh, you mean Mars
years?
Express? Yeah. Well, it was just a reminder that animation has always been such an American thing for a long time, because it was so industrialized. It was so streamlined through, you know, you got your Disney's, you got your DreamWorks, Pixar, you got all of these companies that, like, it feels like, okay, they've done the animation, now they're just like being fed back into like the Hollywood loop, and they come out back as live action movies. And I think the focus on creating great original animated stories has sort of waned. And I think that sort of these futuristic worlds that come out, like, it's just obviously like it's very anecdotal. We got 2 movies from France. I don't know if there's like a whole infrastructure, because it feels like it's these smaller indie studios that are breaking out, and we noted that with Flow as well, you know.
I mean, even Japan and like just Asian animated cinema in general. Look at Neza, look at hell, Chainsaw Man, look at Demon Slayer. These movies. By the way, Demon Slayer, I believe, is only like $20 million like budget.
Yeah.
Like way smaller than any of the other ones, way longer than any of the Pixar and Disney movies as well. And it still is such a smash hit. So the animation landscape is definitely changing for the better, I would say.
Yeah.
Even in desperate times with AI and everything, like it is emerging.
That sort of expression is always what we seek, and I feel like what we can express through this animated form, breaking loose, like from the sort of immersion that you place yourself in with a storytelling. There's so many possibilities with animation, and I think this one was quite striking as well. I mean, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I don't know how did you feel about that? Like that the same?
I think I gave it a 7 out of 10 as well.
It's to me, it's like it's certainly a deserved place, and it makes sense that this gets the shout out for the Oscars. I think it's definitely deserved. It wouldn't be, you know, one of my favorites. I liked other movies more.
Little Me.
that just Little Emily would be my runaway winner, but like some other films that I liked more, but that's just like catering to me a bit more. This is a bit more of a broader like theme here, but it's good to know that at least, you know, with Pixar and Disney and these other companies taking a step back of their quality level, there's at least someone else, you know, filling in. Then there was one film that I also saw, a documentary, Coexistence My Ass, that was on the documentary shortlist for the Oscars. It didn't end up getting in. I did watch another film that was nominated, Come and See Me in the Good Light. And next week, I'll actually watch the last of these films, Cutting Through Rocks. And then I'll have completed basically all of the feature films that are relevant that aren't Diane Warren Relentless. But even considering skipping through that real quick and... but anyways,
can we just quickly put out that tweet? Can we just quickly put that tweet of Diane Warren on the screen, which is that like, I'll make songs for every movie. Christopher Nolan, call me.
Yeah, Coexistence My Ass is a film that you know, sounds a little intriguing because it's about someone who has been trying to, you know, work for Israeli-Palestinian peace for a while, like has sort of lived in this cohabited space that obviously isn't really working, and then she goes into like the comedy scene with stand-up. And I'm honestly, you know this about me, I don't like stand-up at all, and this was just a reminder that I don't like stand-up at all. And this movie to me felt in a lot of ways a very like not as maybe self-importance, because I think there is a serious issue that she's like, you know, willing to address, that like she's passionate about it. But the amount of times this movie feels it's necessary to cut in moments of her saying, oh yeah, I'm not married yet and everyone wants me to be married, and like, oh, the prospects, like literally like it's a bunch of her jokes. It's so many times it's brought up in this film that's the only thing that stands out to me. And yeah, this one was quite underwhelming. Gave it a 5 out of 10. And Come and See Me in the Good Light honestly was the way better choice. I'm happy that got nominated. That's pretty solid movie about like someone dying and the uncertainty of that, like a great poetry slam, not poetry slam, but poetry person, like performances that they did. And I found that to be like way more insightful, and as a documentary much better.
But hey, I'm still waiting for you to watch Marcelo Hernandez stand up, because I do feel like that's one that you might like.
I don't know if I want to. Honestly, I don't know if I want to watch a stand up, but maybe I'll make time for it. Last two films I saw was the second Greenland film, Migration, and Anaconda, both two studio films. Yeah, so topical. Migration was just like this family who is trying to survive, like having to go from one place to another, migrating. Oh my god. And a lot of the ways that they survive in these sort of like, there's no connective tissue of them going from place to place, but it just like cuts from one action set piece to the next. And I don't get how these people, how they survive. It's just like some of the CGI was like a bit questionable. Obviously, you know, maybe there was some cuts being made and some limitations to it, but that was quite underwhelming. Both of these came out on VOD, by the way. That's why I watched them. And Anaconda was incredibly unfunny. Unfortunately, I had a bit of hopes for that one, but that's a film where Jack Black and Paul Rudd remake one of their favorite films, like the Anaconda movie, but they make their own. And then it's also like, you know, them filming it, and like the movie ends with them like screening the film, and it just like doesn't make any sense that they captured anything. There's no stakes. It feels incredibly small scope in the way, I don't know, it's just an unfunny, it's a bad movie. I gave this one a 3 out of 10. But yeah, man, let's talk about some better stuff, okay?
Well, let's talk about some stuff we're spotlighting.
There was one little movie that you brought to my attention that, honestly, I don't know how I would have seen this one, but this one played at some festivals. It premiered at the Karlovo Vary Film Festival in Czechia. A film festival that often happens, well, not often happens, it happens around the time when a lot of other festivals are going on and that we are going to. So we've never had, the opportunity to also go there, but sometimes some underseen gems come out of that festival. And this one, Renovation, recently became available very limited, not everywhere, on VOD. and we were able to see it that way. And it is about a 20-year-old called Ilona. She and her boyfriend have just moved into a new apartment in a block of flats when the building's renovation begins soon afterwards, and she befriends Oleg, one of the Ukrainian construction workers. Her idyllic notions of a fulfilling life as she approaches 30 start to crumble like the old plaster on the walls. And Kevin, when I first told you, because I ended up watching this before you, that I was like relating to this, and I was opening up and saying like, "Oh, this is actually such a well-made movie," you just called me old. So you don't have to defend that. I guess you just can hold. I can hold that L, being 2 years older than you.
I'm just offended you didn't put "Wrecked by Kevin" in your one-line review.
Wrecked by Kevin. Yeah, maybe. Considering, like, depending on how well this review goes, I might add it. But well, tell me about it. What do you think?
So, ladies and gentlemen, I have like a little piece of paper that during the movie, yes, Ewan does not know about this. So the reasons why Ewan loves Renovation. I got a couple of reasons here.
Okay.
Construction. As you know, Ewan is currently surrounded by construction, so he very much relates
hear it right now.
to. Yeah, exactly. So he very much relates to the character and the situation they're in with construction, because he lives it every day and will continue to live it every day for a couple of years. Hopeless romance. Hey, he's a sucker for romance, and that's why he always also loved this movie. And they are trying to figure each out. They're trying to talk. Sometimes they don't talk, and that they should just get their frustration out. Hopeless romance. 30. As we know, Ewan is a boomer, and he relates with boomers. Then we got the war and terrible feeling. At the third moment in the movie, they say like, sometimes I forget there's just a war going on, and then it's like her boyfriend says, "Oh, but that's life. We need to move on. We can't always be in this state." So the fact that a movie recognizes the state, like the terrible world that we live in, obviously relates to you as well. Cat. That's it. They adopt a cat, so she very much relate to it. Family dynamics don't really have the greatest relationships with like the parents, and like they're always like sort of putting shit on them or like reversed. So they're also there. The old woman scene at a certain moment, like a pie bursts into the apartment, and then you got the old woman saying like, sometimes you take care of your family for your whole life, and then there's no one there, and like that shit even broke my heart. And 8 is empathy for your neighbors, because as you said earlier in this podcast, it's like sometimes we need to believe, man, and that's what this movie also does. Like, just believe in the world, and those are all the reasons why Ewan loves this movie. And I bet you he can't put many more reasons in there than except the one that I just named. And he feel called out. I
thought I was preemptively like stumping you by saying, "Yeah, you called me old," and that's it. But yeah. I also, what he didn't say is, I like the look of the film. I like that like fake 35mm, the soft muted colors that still feel like there's a ton of warmth in there. Like I love that. Like even in the most dire films, like Memoir of a Snail, that's one of the questions I asked Adam Elliott when I interviewed him. Is like how, but the question came from you partly. I think you said this, and I rephrased it in my way, that like, how do you find the sort of like how do you find the brightness in the dark, sort of sort of that way, and like that's sort of the experience for us living right now, for anyone. There's a lot of things to pull you in the dark, and then I think what I really liked about this is we obviously like trying to not give away too much, because we don't know how accessible this is to people. But if you want to, want us to help you find this movie, to watch it yourself, it's again a reminder to join our Discord, and you can talk to us there directly, and we can have like put into the resources and the directions, because we can't broadly make them because it might be different for everyone. But we are more than willing for people who join and want to engage to help them find this one. But I like the overall theme of tackling the angst and anxiety of this generation, which just to be corrected, he calls me a boomer, which would be 3 generations above me, right? Even my mom isn't a boomer. And so I'm like right on the outskirts of being the youngest millennial, but I'm also the oldest zoomer. I'm like right in between there. And this is a story told for, I believe, a bit more of the like millennials who are maybe a few years ahead of me, obviously like literally in the story as well, but just also starting the life with a partner and new apartment and all of that. But it very much
people around 30.
Exactly. And but I feel like that progression is also very stunted depending on the culture. And it feels like here you got one that is maybe a bit more traditional in like, the sort of steps you take. And it's also not really overly making metaphors and allegories for that being like very over the top. It stays very small. It also is working obviously on a budget, on the constraints of telling a story like this, but making its most effective points still. I guess if you don't have more insults from coming my way, then I'll throw it back to you. Hey. I got more to say about the film.
Those weren't insults.
Observations, I guess, astute.
But as you said,
the one when you get critiques and they like are actually true, or like obviously you weren't critiquing me, you were observing me, and they're actually accurate. It's like it cuts that much deeper, and that's exactly what that was.
You know what was funny? I just love the way you were like, sort of like doing this, like, like, going with your tongues, like, fair. He's cutting me deep yet. But, as you said, the feeling that this movie has is its strength. The feeling that this movie gives you is its strength. And so many movies, so many debut features we watch over the years fail at this movie does.
Because it could run out of gas, right? With it being
absolutely
overdrawn, the same emotions over and over, but it feels like it's building upon these. And there's like sort of things that you could fall into, right? You could build to a sort of bigger catharsis. You could build to a more explosive moment, but it is way more about the interiority. And to get that right always comes with debuts that resonate with you from a place where it feels very accurate. It feels very lived in. It feels very like authentic. And knowing the director was born in 93 as well, right around the age where she was probably turning 30, writing this and then getting it made, there's a lot of like I haven't like I don't know if there are many interviews with her where she talks about the film. Honestly, open invitation. I'd love to talk to her about this film.
I was about to say, you are saying here something.
But I thought it was like so many like observations that are difficult to place in projects because they are so like recent as well, and then to tackle them amidst a story that really resonates with you quite easily. I would actually be curious if someone in their 50s or something like that, if they would connect to the story as well. Or if they wouldn't, if they would find some of the tendencies of these characters a bit more frustrating. Because I know there was like a slight pushback on some people who I thought like the worst person in the world really wasn't for, that didn't like the movie. It was not that many people, but I saw that a bit more from older people than I saw it from people like who were around the age or younger. But yeah, I'd just be curious.
I mean, just like over the years, the Ukraine war and like Palestine and Gaza. Like for example, we watched She Taught Me Serendipity last week, and all of a sudden you got there a march for Palestine there in that movie. And here it's also like this is the way that you address a war and the way that people feel about it in like distant countries, like not necessarily in the countries themselves. Like this is how you do it right.
Yeah,
like it doesn't hit over your head. It's very much is like a slice of life. That's so impressive to me.
I mean, yeah, if you want to have a slice of actual life in a way, then you need to do it that way. If it becomes the whole thing, then you're reducing the whole experience of someone down to like a couple of pinpoints that ultimately don't feel like real, don't feel, and that's always like obviously like people have given me that feedback of like when I say something isn't real, it's like, yeah, it's a movie, but it doesn't need to be that way. It really doesn't. Like obviously maybe the big blockbusters that set up the heroes and everything, and if it's for children you want to like simplify it in a way that doesn't overly confuse them. But really for movies for adults, like why the fuck does it need to be dumped down, man? It really doesn't need to. And I think it like ultimately trickles down in our way of thinking as well. That ultimately is a reflection of like how many times have I or anyone else in your life like spouted back something at you that they've heard someone else say? And how many times has that just been a regurgitated thing that's been coming down the line like a human centipede of opinions? And when it comes from someone directly, when it is more of like this artistic outflow, then I always tend to connect with it quite a bit. And it just felt like there was something real to this that like there was a scene with the mom, a couple of them, where you feel like, oh, you going into like this sort of expectation of maybe a stereotype of being at odds with your mom that sort of mentions other people's lives and how they are like a contrast to yours, and how you feel like you are not letting them down, but you're frustrated by how they perceive you as something that like you're behind, right? You're falling behind, and that anxiety that creeps up on you. But then the movie, I don't want to spoil it, but it feels like it comes from more of a holistic place of like a good relationship of mother and daughter, where no, they just want the best for you, and that's ultimately what this is about. And it doesn't need to be said, but it's like a moment that is felt, and that is there's a physical connection. And I found that scene to be like one of the highlights for me, and it really came unexpectedly, because I thought that it was more a confrontation that we're like steering towards, and it was an embrace. And there was a lot of these moments, like the way that they go about the relationship as well. And it's really easy to, like, when it's so easy to observe someone's interiority, where it doesn't feel like they are just like projecting outward very obviously, but you still get the whole understanding of a person. That's so hard to do, and this movie does that to me pretty flawlessly as well. So really impressive filmmaking and performance.
I should say most of this movie is also indoors.
Yeah.
And they only really go to an exterior place at the end of the movie, and for a rooftop scene. That rooftop theme, also a highlight for me. You got the rooftop, you got something with a front door, and you got the old woman whose place has flooded. Like, those three scenes are like highlights to me, very memorable ones. When she goes out, it's like the first time that she's actually away from this construction site as well, and she sort of has some inner peace, but she also said the reason she isn't leaving is because she wants to get away from those coffee shops, bookshops, and library places. And she sort of wants this place of her own. Very, very strong film. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I know you loved it a bit more.
I gave it an 8.5, but I rounded it up to a 9 out of 10. But yeah, shout outs again to the director. If she wants to talk to us for an interview, we'd love to.
You want to say your name, maybe?
Well, the thing is, I thought that maybe that lessens my chances of actually getting an interview with her, because it's Gabriele.
I was taking the opposite.
I didn't try to like, put it into a translator. I did say it as you were talking. I'm not going to repeat it, but it is recorded in the, and I'll leave that in. But hopefully I didn't butcher her name too much. But yeah, great film. Shout out again. Reach out to us if you want help finding this film. It might be available in some countries digitally. I think only in a few. But yeah. Merrily we roll along. We roll along.
Love how we get the same segue.
Yeah.
Well, old friend, tell me about this movie.
We are old friends, bound to dislike each other in a couple of years.
And rage bait.
And rage bait each other endlessly, yes. Merrily We Roll Along got performed for a couple of years, obviously like way back in the day, but there was a revival of it with Jonathan Graf, Daniel Radcliffe, and Lindsay Mendez in Hudson Theater in New York City. And the story itself is about Franklin Shepard, who is a talented Broadway composer who abandons his theater career and all of his friends in New York in order to produce films in Los Angeles. The story begins at the height of his Hollywood fame and moves backwards in time, showing snapshots of the most important moments in Frank's life that shaped the man he is today. And yeah, this recording itself is from 2024. It won, what did it win? It won a Tony.
It won 4 Tonys. It won for Best Survival, not Survival. It won for Best Orchestration. It won Lead Actor and Featured Actor. So Jonathan Graf won a Tony, and Daniel Radcliffe also won his Tony.
Okay. Yeah, very understandable. I think those two performances.
Also got a couple of other nominations as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe he got 7 nominations in total. Lindsay Mendez was nominated as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to me, I was like the character I connected the least with was hers. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a standout. Still good. But for me, this is intriguing because Richard Linklater is adapting it and he's doing the Boyhood thing again, where he's like recording it over time. And to me, it's crazy that like the movie that we'll get is likely going to the scenes that he is shooting right now. It's going to be the end of the film as well. Like the
it
whole
released
time
in 2040, I believe.
Yeah.
It's scheduled for 2040.
And I mean, the story itself takes place about like 2019-ish years. And it like starts with them being young adults, which I feel like Paul Mescal and Ben Platt would be, who are starring as the two like lead roles, alongside Beanie Feldstein. And they would be, a bit too old for the roles right now, so they do need to shoot it probably like the first couple of years now, and then they'll do more as they age up for the roles, which was one of the things that like you have to buy into with a theater thing like this, because it's not that apparent that they like start out old and then get younger. I feel like, to me, the standout was Jonathan Groff of like portraying that, because he also makes obviously the biggest leaps as a character, because it literally is like part about that they don't stay true to themselves. And you see that sort of by the end of it, you do need to see that spark that connected them all, because it feels like a lot of the story is them disconnecting further and further. You were the one who like brought this on to like for us to actually review it. So did you end up liking it?
I liked it quite a bit. I actually prefer watching these live recordings of these plays. I watched Good Night and Good Luck on Broadway a few weeks ago. Don't think you have seen that one yet?
Not yet, no, yeah. Because I also haven't seen the movie version of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I do have to make place for both.
I would love to know your thoughts on that, on those two and like adaptations of it. But hell, even going further, I forgot the one with Adam Scott. Let me quickly look it up.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it was like Vanya, something like that. Andrew Scott?
Oh, yeah, the Andrew Scott one, yeah.
Andrew
I think
Scott.
Adam Scott is in an upcoming...
No, he was in Vanya. National Theatre Live, Vanya. Because that one was rated very highly in Letterboxd as well, 4.4. Actually watched it. Was really good. Like, my God, he's so good on theater. But I just like seeing theater, but I unfortunately cannot watch it in person because of with my hearing. So watching a recording of it,
right.
Very much prefer it that way, even though it doesn't mean that I can actually watch it in person. And we also got Prima Facie with Jodie Comer, which that one is one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. And honestly, I don't think anything comes close to it. But that said, Merrily We Roll Along. Jonathan Groff is a special actor, has done a lot of plays over the years. He's most famously played the king in Hamilton.
He'll be back.
Yeah. And, Jonathan Groff is really interesting to watch because in these movies, like on the screen, he very much is great with his emotion, but on the stage here, I feel like he does something with his eyes that is so brilliant in Merrily We Roll Along that I really appreciated. And some people said like, oh, why is this movie in reverse chronology? And I actually applaud that decision, even though, it's like a original play in like 1934. So like the thing has been done long ago, but the way the moment where the movie ends up feels way more special than if you would do it in the actual order of things.
Yeah, I mean, the construction of it all has some shortcomings in the way where like it feels like it needs to justify it. And because you only get snapshots, it feels like it's very much a reduction of these feelings. But that's where the music fills in, right? That's sort of the emotions that musicals can draw out of you. And I think like if you compare it to something else that he starred in with Hamilton, where he also is playing like a one-note character a bit more, but the way that musical is obviously very different than a lot of like what the musicals have been up until that point, is like all of it is sort of in some sort of music form. and it's not really that much mixed into like a lot of scenes that are just talking. And here that is a bit more the case a bit more. And it does have a couple of scenes that really resonate in when they're singing, and moments that when they aren't singing. And I think it's a nice balance to strike. Although I think some of the shortcomings was that I wasn't that emotionally invested in it. It was more the overall feeling that it was representing that I found to be really resonating with me. And I think that's sort of the goal that it has as well, right? It's like, it's very broad, these aspirations of like trying to make it big, make an impact, then making it, but at the sacrifice of what? And that's the whole like bit. It's like a thing about like a friendship and not realizing what you have until you don't have it anymore. And I think the way that the lead, that Franklin is sort of closed off from us for a long time, or like basically the whole time we just see others being frustrated of what he used to be. It's hard because like at the end you have to show like what he used to be. And like maybe it's interesting to talk about like the songs. Did you have a highlight here? Because I think like Our Time at the end, the way that he sings, like you were talking about his eyes, sometimes I feel like Jonathan Groff acts on stage, and when it's captured in the way where like even if there weren't a light on him, his eyes almost sparkle. Like there's a sort of that energy.
100%.
And that is like, and he brings that through in his voice like so well in this ending song of like Our Time, that excitement of like bringing that, but it also already carries this sort of like, oh, he's willing to go even further. He like, you can hear it all. It's like, and that to me was really impressive. Like above everything else, I feel like to me Jonathan Groff was just like, oh my god, that's incredible.
And it really is like in the ending song of, hey, that was the thing, but there's still this little voice in his head that is like aspiring to be something else. And in the beginning of the movie, we see where he has ended up, what that little voice has become. And I think that's what lies in the strength of Merrily We Roll Along. I don't really have a particular song or anything, but Radcliffe's public outrage on television as he's sitting next to Franklin is brilliant. It's probably the scene that got him the Tony with all the and like that was fantastic.
Well, I was thinking about the alphabet rap like that he did like a while ago, right?
On Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. I mean, the scene that you're talking about is Franklin Inc. Franklin Shepherd Inc. Like one of the songs. Like that's not a standout. Yeah, really.
That's a standout for me. And it's those little moments where we see who Jonathan Groff used to be, and that is when he's sitting behind the piano and like he's sort of becoming himself again instead of this grand version of himself. Those are the moments that I also really emotionally like.
Yeah, that's the song he plays there.
Their first hit, when they are waiting for the audience applause, I thought was great. That's the scene where I was like, oh, hey, here's some good physicality, because the story is very narrow. Like if you watch the West Side Story, for example, it's always like very much this dancing choreography. There isn't that much choreography in here compared to other Sondheim plays. And in their first hit, when they are like cheering and they are running around, like even Radcliffe is like jumping on the floor, like kicking his feet in the air and then like coming back up. And I was like, oh my god, that's great physicality there. And while not a great song necessarily, I thought their little club performance where they're going through the Kennedy family tree, like that's their original stuff. Like that's what they wanted to make, and that isn't obviously commercially viable. And at the ending, when they are trying to become who they are, like trying to get the jobs and themselves in the place they want to be in 58 and 59, I thought that was some great use of editing, because naturally they are all three on the stage, and you would, if you just shot that wide, it would just be them talking differently, because you cut so well across the tree. I felt like that scene has way more effect. So some great editing there, and because you wouldn't really say that about these live recordings. So that was some great editing. But Merrily We Roll Along, I was a bit impressed with how much they want to immerse the viewer that is watching this recording. Like it isn't necessarily just like, hey, here's a live stream, for example. That doesn't have
exactly that like the opening scene made it very apparent to me that like they in like Hamilton, they had like one extra rehearsal or like one extra performance where they were in there with the camera, one angle, right, where they performed it all again, and the rest of it was like various angles of like the actual performances. And here it felt like they were taking a bigger leap of like for coverage of actually constructing it to not just a live recording but like a separate thing. And I think it really it needed that, because it's like from a performance standpoint it's a bit more barren, it's a bit more basic, and like I think that was a great choice that they made here. But yeah, I also liked Old Friends and Growing Up, two other pretty good songs. I like in the Old Friends one, it's like their definition of old friends, and like it's confronting, like it almost gets lost if you don't very attentively listen back to it, the way that they describe the same thing differently and what it means to them. Like, because ultimately the story is very broad, of like or like spans a long time, so it feels like obviously you have to reduce these characters down to like the one through line that they got. But I felt like it wasn't too lost, but I was also a bit concerned about the movie adaptations of this, because I was like, okay, are we just getting the snapshots again? And like, I don't know how much you add to it, or how is he going about telling the story. I'll be interested to see.
And you also got the industry friends versus real life friends, the Blob. I thought the Blob was also a highlight scene, because that's just this machine that chews you up.
Yeah, I like when he's like going through his divorce and talking about like losing his son potentially, like custody, and they go like, oh no, this like the industry friends are like the Blob, like basically pulling, oh no, like everything that happens to you is a catalyst to propel your career forward, and the friends are actually there to like what you need. And I think that confrontation was, to me, probably like one of the highlight, if not the highlight of this whole like play, was like that moment, because it felt like it comes out of nowhere, where the whole thing is like always in the moments, and then it was like, oh, this is the thing, right? This is the thing that they're battling with. This is the catalyst of the moment where he goes down the wrong road for this friendship to continue in a way where, and like, obviously interesting pairing with Blue Moon. Like the sort of diverging.
I was gonna name drop that movie.
Yeah.
Because this movie also originally took place in 1934, or like amid the Great Depression in the 1930s, and the story goes backward to their innocence and optimism in the early 1920s. I guess we actually haven't said that the original took place amid the Great Depression.
I also forgot to say that it's a Sondheim play. I forgot a bunch of stuff.
So I'll quickly say here, the 1934 play of the same name by George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart followed a coterie of friends navigating the societal upheaval of the Jazz Age, and featured a narrative structure with reverse chronology, beginning with dashed hopes and shattered lives amid the Great Depression in the 1930s. The story goes backward to their innocence and optimism in the early 1920s. When updating the play for the 1981 musical, writer George Firth stated that he altered the time period to appeal to contemporary audiences. Stephen Sondheim, who wrote the music and lyrics for the 1981 adaptation, stated that he preferred the original Jazz Age setting. And it's
interesting because they keep the setting from the 80s the same, right?
That's also my question. Is it gonna keep the movie adaptation in the 80s, or is it gonna update it?
Oh yeah, that's a really interesting question, because it would change it so much.
Like you can do that with COVID. Here but it's using the Vietnam War.
Contemporary. That's the one of the benefits of shooting with them contemporarily, is like that you can. I don't know, but then you have to adjust. No, it's really hard. This is a tough question. Richard, if you want to come on podcast, talk about just about it.
Yeah, I'm really thinking about it.
I don't know,
because
man.
if you let's say the ending of the beginning of this movie starts in 2026, maybe even 2025, right?
Yeah.
Because they've already shot. And we're going back, 19-ish years? That means we're just before the 2008 financial crisis. That's a vital turning point.
But I don't know. I feel like he might stay with the 80s version, or like 70s, because he has a lot of his movies take place, like that's...
I know, everybody wants some.
Yeah. Like he does go into that nostalgia quite a bit, and obviously lived through it. So like,
and with Blue Moon as well.
Yeah, I mean it goes back even further. I don't know. He hasn't done anything looking forward that much. His most contemporary stuff is the
Nouvelle
before
Vague
scenes.
as well. Come
Yeah.
on.
No, he probably is going back to That will make the most sense. But it would be so interesting. Like his other films where he did that with Boyhood, that was contemporary. So I don't know. Like
also, don't forget that Merrily We Roll Along, from what I know, the original play, like in 1980s, wasn't a hit.
Mhm.
It wasn't a hit. Like it wasn't well received or something.
Right.
And they only updated it now, I guess. Also because I guess Sondheim now, a Sondheim play now has some weight behind it. Maybe back then it also did. I'm not sure about it. I don't come from a theater background or anything, so I don't have that knowledge.
Yeah.
But looking forward to the film adaptation now.
Yeah, I think Sondheim, what do you know him for? Is like
West Side Story.
Well, Sweeney Todd, I believe, is like the one that is the one that also resonated and still gets performed so much. He began his career. I didn't know that he began his career writing the lyrics for both West Side Story and Gypsy. And then Merrily We Roll Along was one of the later things he did. Yeah, interesting. I mean, he only died a couple of years ago. He still had like that sort of presence alongside, like even for something like Tick Tick Boom, right? He was still like, obviously that was like going back to that period, but it still felt like he's also in the zeitgeist for a lot of people still. And it's a New York scene that we are obviously not familiar with.
They have a song dedicated to New York of like, why would you want to live in New York?
Yeah,
which was also quite a funny scene. But yeah, Merrily Roll Along. It is 2 hours and 34. But hey, maybe you can do an intermission when you watch it at home.
Oh really? I didn't. It's that long. Yeah, I totally didn't notice that when watching. I like the time just kind of flew by as well. But like it has a very apparent break in there as well. I was like, no, I noticed what it is.
And they in the recording they also flash forward. I mean, flash forward in the sense of like you don't really see the moment they transition and switch out the sets as much, because they have their little bridge song of Merrily We Roll Along, and then perhaps you maybe see some people move furniture, but it has very much like, oh, now it's 1965 or something.
I gotta say, I like the transitions a lot with like the ensemble, like the one bit that they had on the news, and then
they also look down the camera,
and then noticing how the ensemble is weaved in as like a variety of characters, and pointing out the individual performers was quite fun. I think they did some great ensemble work here. Well, like at the beginning, it's not apparent like who's going to be relevant for the story that much, and then it slowly becomes more and more like apparent, and then it also is frustrating because like you hope that some of these people don't infect their lives that early in like a way that isn't good for their friendship. But yeah, I liked it. Good movie. Good filming of a Tony-winning play.
Which, if we're gonna be honest, I really, really, really want to see Glenn Ross. I want to see the recording of that with Kieran Culkin, Bill Burr. Why am I forgetting his name? Bob Odenkirk. Like that's a recording I really want to see.
Yeah.
What did you want to say?
The one that got a bit shout out, right, for nominations. I saw that, like, I think I don't know if it was for Tony's or some other performance where I believe a lot of people were expecting nominations for that play, but it didn't get that many, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
But knowing Linklater, I could also see him going back to, like, the original jazz era.
Oh, that's also a possibility.
Yeah. I don't know. The information is probably out there, but I love living in this speculation right now. The possibilities are open. Anyways, that wraps it up for Spotlight reviews this week. We have a very exciting film to talk about in our Spotlight World Cinema. One that I picked after Kevin frequently flaunted around his physical copy of The Wailing, a movie from, can you say the director's name?
Na Hyung-jin.
You nailed that. And the movie is about a stranger who arrives in a little village, and soon after, a mysterious sickness starts spreading. A policeman is drawn into the incident and is forced to solve the mystery in order to save his daughter. I gotta say, talking about horror, what is so terrifying about it. And I feel like I have to give a warning for people who watch this movie. You know, Neon likes to go like, "Oh, so many people came out of the theater so scared." Ah!
It's those marketing videos with the green night vision on it.
for Primate, the ones that they did as well, which isn't Neon, but
they even did for Mercy, the Chris Pratt movie.
Really?
I saw like a marketing video of like people just sitting in the screening, and then obviously they had a few actors, and then the security would come in and they would kidnap one of the actors that was sitting already in the seat, and they would be carried off for interrogation. Like, oh, you're doing the most for the shittiest movie ever.
but talking about The Wailing, what I found so terrifying about it, the horror, is uncertainty. Uncertainty is horrifying. I believe because the movie has been out so long, we do want to do a spoiler review. I don't know if you want to
10
start
years,
with non-spoilers.
I think that's enough.
Although I don't blame you if you've been putting off watching this. But from immediately afterwards, the discussions around this film is also like, that's why like I'm not in spoilers yet. But there's an uncertainty about like how things play out, what people's true intentions are, that aren't really solved in a way. Maybe they could be solved if you or maybe they have been solved if you talk directly to the director and the screen writer, which I believe are probably the one and the same person. I don't know, but like you could get answers for certain things probably, but like that's not the questions at the core of this film, or like that's not the themes at the core of this film, and the way that it explores the sort of like limits you're willing to go to, and assumptions that you make about someone else and how harmful they can be with sort of your best intentions, but then still having the shortcomings of your own personality sort of hinder your success, and all that with the terrifying backdrop of not knowing what to actually fight against. It's like that's what really like horror is at its best. It's like the unknown, and like feeding like what you're fighting against is just like a general darkness. And it's so terrifying. Like, where do you even start? And you have so much pent up rage against it. I can't say I had a great time with The Wailing, but I did enjoy the film. It's really hard to say, but like I think to me this was one of the most terrifying movies I've seen in a while. I was like quite freaked out. I was like, I texted you when I was watching it. I'm looking forward to the nightmares tonight.
Hey, and I texted you when I was watching it. And what was I doing?
The same thing. Yeah.
Literally, I said like, bro, I finished the movie, and then you came with, oh hey, did you see this? And it's like, bro, let me recover, man. Jesus, don't come at me with something new. I need to recover.
Yeah.
This movie, hey, Ewan, do you know the director of this movie? He's the guy that's responsible for my number one most anticipated movie of this year, Hope. And I am very much looking forward to catching up with Chaser and The Yellow Sea, which are also his two other movies that he has made. This movie gets compared quite a bit with Memories of Murder, and I totally can get that in terms of atmosphere. That rain, the use of rain, especially, my God, this movie nails that. And I oftentimes say, but texture, when you can smell, when you can feel what the characters are feeling, like in that, whether it's muddy, whether it's sweaty, whether it's just purely drenched by rain, you can smell and taste this movie. It's unbelievable what the cinematographer has done here. Hong Kong-po, also responsible for Parasite, so does not surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah.
Has also done Snowpiercer, Burning, Broker, Save the Green Planet. Hey, that movie gets called back from us. The team behind this movie is incredible. And then you get the cast who portray their characters immaculately. You got Kwak Do-won as the sort of mumbling idiot cop. Like, he's very much is a man who isn't fully confident, who very much has insecurity issues, but he's still smart. He definitely isn't like fully stupid to the point that you think like, bro, this little girl is gonna, she's gone with a dad this dumb. Like, you never feel that. He's smart, but he's just insecure. but at a certain moment, he just hits that line of being desperate.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's just a heavy load to take in terms of despair, stress, everything. And we on the channel oftentimes talks about child performances, and we, like sometimes we say like, this kid isn't experienced. The little kid in this movie, my God, you said, oh, she's like maybe even top 3 performance in this movie. I'm like, Ewan, she is top 3 performance.
Yeah.
She is absolutely nailing it here. My God.
The other comparison I made is to Linda Blair in The Exorcist. I think she's obviously like, similar sort of performance as well. Not as much on the possessed side. Still is part of that, but at least a little bit less physically, but emotionally. She nails that part. Like she's also such a core to the film as well, which I wasn't expecting. And it's such it's an easy way to go through children as these vulnerable beings, as the one being the one in danger, that like immediately gets you invested. It's something I feel like just animalistic that kicks in for you as well. It's like, we gotta save that child at all costs.
Yeah.
Save the child. And what I also saw is like some people saying that the cop father is like going through the 7 deadly sins in a way, like being late, the sloth, like constantly eating, so like that gluttony, the lust that he has. I see Graf. I don't know, there's probably scenes with envy, greed, and pride that he sort of showcases. I didn't really make that connection. I just saw like some people point that out, and this movie invites a lot of that discussion. And I think that discussion can sometimes be quite frustrating if you read into it too much looking for answers. But if you have questions and you end up having more questions at the end of it all, I think that's like something, not because like there logically there's some, plot holes or like something like that, but more that like it evokes more questions in sort of why people reacted the way that they did and stuff like that. Like that can be additive to the experience, and I think I had that with this movie where I was curious.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And this movie is also a mix mash of so many genres. Because at some point I also had to think about Silence, about Martin Scorsese's Silence, about religion. And it's like, do you believe it, whether it's not? Do you think it's something performative, or do you think it's actually something substantial?
Yeah.
And you got multiple things in this movie. At a certain point, it's like, oh, is this sort of zombie thing? Is it a virus thing? Is it a serial killer thing? Is it a witch hunt thing? Like, this movie goes in so many potential directions, and I applaud them for doing so. It's not something straightforward. Like you said, it evokes more questions than it answers things. I think the most impressive scene of this is the ritual scene, which apparently, going to IMDb trivia, the ceremony scenes, the actor Wang Junmin filmed for 15 minutes without break. It was one long take scene, which I think that's just very taxing to do as an actor.
Yeah.
And you can definitely feel it like coming through the screen as well. And this movie was also made on the basis of many folk religions in Korea and Nepal, and on Catholic faiths. Hence, my sort of aspiration to Silence was, that like there's a link there.
Comparison.
But this story is just wild of the Wailing, and it just goes further and further and further. And just when you think like, can I just please take a breath? It's like, nope. Here's more. It's like, God damn it. I'm in such a state of anxiety, of dread when watching The Wailing. It is a movie, a Korean horror movie that just evokes everything out of you. My God, what a movie.
It sort of has the plot twists and revelations that, it does the thing where like it reveals something to you and you're not entirely sure what that means yet. And then it like almost takes a step back at points and like reaffirms certain things and keeps you constantly guessing and wondering what people's true intentions are like I think with the city shaman who comes in and performs that long scene, I was like, at the beginning you're like, oh, is it like someone who is, because at the beginning, like I was kind of questioning, does he have the capability? What world do
like
we
his
live in?
legitimacy, yeah.
Yeah, his legitimacy, and also the legitimacy of like what is happening. Is there actually something more like supernatural that is happening, or is it tapping into the folklore thing, which can feel different than like supernatural, like a virus? Like it is walking that line kind of mysteriously the whole time, and at the core of it all, you have a very frustrating lead who you're also rooting for him. Just a thrilling ride from beginning to end.
You want to talk some spoilers or not?
Sure, yeah, let's do it from here on out. Spoiler warning for the end of the Wailing.
So when he's doing that ceremony scene, I knew, like I was like still 100% sure that the Japanese actor, like the Japanese man, was the devil. Like like because he was dying at that point. So when they are trying to do the twisting of, oh, is the woman, like the ghostly woman, actually the devil? I was like, no. I'm 100% sure the Japanese man is still the devil. I don't know if that you thought that.
Well, I thought it must be. And then when it twists it back, and it also ends with revealing the shaman, the city shaman, to maybe have been working with one of them being evil. It just like adds so much confusion. Like at the very final note, and it just recontextualizes the whole thing, where I don't really have a clear solution to it all. Like I can't really make sense of it, because it wouldn't make sense if he worked together with the woman, if he worked together with the man as well, the two shamans, because why was it actually hurting him in that scene? And it felt like he was like genuinely worried when the guy in the car like escapes again. So like I don't know, but it weirdly enough, it doesn't feel like a shortcoming for the film. That like sort of like does it make sense? I don't know. But it just leaves you in a state of like this uncertainty.
I will say though, if your child is potentially like, has like an exorcism or like the devil inside her, at least in America, they tie them up. I was like, at a certain point, I was like, does nobody have some damn rope in this movie? Like, oh yeah, no, we left her with the old grandma, or like, no, we left her with the neighbor. The neighbor's looking after her. And it's like, you left the neighbor with your potential devilish child, and then she gets stabbed, and it's like, of course what do you expect?
Yeah, especially knowing what has happened in the town since then. It's also like interesting with the woman who stalks the like forest shaman. When the cops are there and she's throwing stones, I was like, wait, is she literally throwing the first stone? Is that what this is?
And did you see how many stones she threw? It's like it's just everywhere.
And the way that like he reacts to it, he feels like he's waiting until the very last moment to do something. And that's sort of like his whole character as well. Like, I love that we are not getting someone who is going about this the best way he could, right? Because it also feels like flawed. In these stories, the devil, wouldn't you go for someone who not the one who would you feel like have the hardest time going up against? You would try to go for the
weakest.
The weakest. Yeah. I like it. Terrifying stuff, man.
Terrifying. Yeah.
I can't wait for Hope now as well. I hope it releases. Sorry. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I can't say it otherwise. I hope it releases this year.
I think it will. Because it got like a poster. Maybe a Cannes release. Hey, I don't know.
That would be
maybe,
a great place for it. Yes.
Also maybe Venice. You never know.
Yeah.
Let me quickly see where the Wailing actually debuted.
To me, some reason,
Yellow Sea.
Cannes makes more sense than Venice.
The Wailing did debut at Cannes, and the Yellow Sea also debuted at Cannes. So if Hope debuts anywhere, it honestly should be Cannes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, even The Chaser debuted at Cannes. So
we'll be on the lookout for that one. I mean, if it does release in Cannes, we'll make sure to watch the rest of his filmography in the lead up to it. You hopefully seek out more of his films. In the near future, we'll be covering even more of his films. So go seek him out. Just saying,
The Chaser 4.0 on Letterboxd, The Yellow Sea 3.7, The Wailing 4.0. So this is a guy that is on a hot streak. Honestly, he hasn't missed from what I can see. So the Wailing, definitely check it out. And that wraps it up for this week's episode.
Anyways, before we, close off this episode, let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. And with it, the end of our Spotlight World Cinema review. I don't know what we're talking about next week because Kevin picked a movie. So what are we watching?
Next week, we are talking about The Plague, a movie that also very much came out on the finish line of 2025. You already watched that, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I watched it in Cannes. Yeah, it's been a while.
Exactly. We're also talking about The Secret Agent. That is a movie that we're talking about in Spotlight World Cinema. That is also on VOD next week, the 3rd of February. And I thought, you know what? We've been a lot in Asia. Let's go to South America. We're already going to Brazil. Why not stay in Brazil? Why not watch another Wagner Moura film called Tropa de Elite, or also known as Elite Squad, which are two movies that I absolutely adore, that are also very much thematically relevant to Brazil, especially as the two films. The one is very much more in the exterior, and then the second one is very much more a societal, like on government level type investigation of Brazil. But let's just stick with the first Tropa de Elite Squad at the moment, and that way we're also talking about two Wagner Moura performances next week, which I'm very much looking forward to.
And we get a general sense of Brazilian history, maybe.
God damn it. But I hope you're happy with that pick.
Yeah, I mean, a bit surprised. I was like, oh, it's action. That still makes sense for Kevin. I was like, world cinema, is it going back to like, the 80s or something like that? And it's only 15, 16-year-old movie, but...
Oh, do you want to make me pick the Wuthering Heights 1981 or something? That is?
The thing is, I ordered... like 7 versions of Wuthering Heights, and I just saw that now on Criterion it will also be. So I'll be reading this book. I'll be watching a bunch of the films. The preparation for this movie is
there's so many though.
Review. There's not all, obviously not all of them, but I got like 7 of them. 6.
Yeah, there like 7 movies. You're gonna watch all of them.
I'll watch some of them. Depending on when I finish the book. I
want to finish 7 movies of the same story. Oh my god!
It's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Can miss me with that. I'll actually make the case that I'll also be watching an Estonian film next week called Frank. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Because it got 2 double dots on the A, but I'll be watching that movie as well.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's a bit up in the air. Like I said, I'll be watching more Sundance films, but I did front load the ones that I'm the most excited about. There was also a few of them that got taken down out of press access as well. Chasing Summer was one of the ones that I wanted to see, and apparently it's not only available for people who are there in person. It's a bit disappointing. There was also another documentary that got taken down, which was literally about like public access of information or something like that. That being taken off access is kind of like ironic, but yeah,
they have been restricting access to movies online, especially with Twinless last year, because that got leaked.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any leaks this year.
No,
but, so good on them.
From the movies I've seen, there was nothing explicit really in them. But no, there was in one, but there wasn't really a need for it to be showcased. There wasn't like a big actor attached to it. So I don't know. They should probably make that decision in what they make available. I guess if that's a concern for them going into the future, maybe seemingly they did that. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing that they already also backtracked and took one down. I feel like it's also about like the process of the movies also being sold at Sundance often, that like the influence of like the actual producers of it taking it down to improve the chances of being sold, or I don't know what the fuck the thought process is. It's also crazy that like Sundance is one of the last big festivals, or basically it's the last big festival that has such an online access. And it remains to be seen, and now that this was the last year edition in Park City in Utah, moving to Boulder, if they'll change this accessibility back. One of the strong points of Sundance is that you have closed captions for every single movie. Also like closed, not just subtitles, but closed captions for all of them. And it's one of the strong points, the accessibility. It's like like when you fill out application, you have to go through a plethora of like, you know, inclusivity like boxes and like checking all of those as well. Which, you know, I don't know how many people they end up letting in, like if they actually are like at the groundwork of for that representation, but it seems like they're at least outwardly strongly working on that. So that's, I guess, a good thing about Sundance. But wraps it up for our recording. Let us know what you've watched this week, and if you got any recommendations, we always take them. Leave them in the comments.
Hey, for the spotlight section, I don't know where you're from, but if you have a film from your country that you're like, hey, you guys need to shout this out.
We'll have to next week. I remember on the I'm Still Here reviews, we got like recommendations for like 25 movies. Under there was like, here's a further explanation for Brazil and that time period. Really interesting, but we haven't gotten around to them.
Hey, maybe Tropa de Elite is in there. Who knows?
Maybe it actually is, but it might be a bit too broad. I don't know. I always assumed that movie was a bit more commercial than it actually is. So I'm very interested. You've seen it before, I haven't, so looking forward to it. But we'll catch you next week. You can say I'm director, you're assistant director. You're my AD. You can call cut right now.
Well, no, actually the director themselves.
I know. I was like, as I was saying it,
the assistant.
I know, but like I said, you can call it now. Not that would be your role, but I'm giving it over to you.
No. You can call it.
And cut. You can't do that. We need an after sting after that. Was too cringe. All right.